Hey, all right. Welcome, welcome. Oh, thank you for the resubs, and Haru. Always appreciate your constant support. 22 big months. So that means I'm coming up on 2 years of streaming outside of the big hiatus that I had in the middle due to work and life stuff. But wow, 2 years. That's hard to believe. All right, so today is Raging Loop Part 4. The previous 3 parts are all up on YouTube if anybody would want to start from scratch and not miss anything. You can find the link to all that in the chat commands or through my Twitter if you want to follow me on there. So as with the other Raging Loop streams, this is going to be full-blown spoilers. We are experiencing this together, but I'm not going to cut the stream. I'm not going to do anything that would, prevent spoilers. If you are watching this, watch at your own discretion. If you want to experience the game yourself, I've been enjoying it a lot so far, so I would recommend it. If you want to experience it yourself, by all means, go ahead. This is not the stream/video for you then, if you are looking to experience it organically without spoilers. I will give a little bit of a recap as to what's happened so far, and then from there we'll go into playing the game. So real quickly, we've done 3 sessions already. So we are Haruaki Fusaishi, aka the Protag, which I tend to call him most frequently. We have arrived in a strange village of Yasunaga, and there's a few choice characters in there. The most prominent of which would be Chiemi. I don't remember her last name. Sarazawa, if I'm not mistaken, is Chiemi. She kind of helps us out, feeds us, and sets us up to, start getting out of the town. But as we soon learn, pretty much nobody gets out of this town once they're in. Well, nobody gets out alive. The town is cursed by kind of ancient deities, particularly the Okami, the wolf, haunts this town. And every so often, the Yomibito, the people of the dead, come up from the Saranaga. Saranaga is the river that is thought to be the link between here and Yomi. The dead come up as wolves in human clothing to kill the people of the town. The other deities of the town have given the people, the inhabitants, the ability to fight back. They are essentially playing a game of werewolf. They're condoned and permitted to kill 1 person a day in the hopes that they can kill the people who have been overcome by the wolves. And just like in Werewolf, the wolves' goal is to kill all of the townsfolk. As you can see in today's title, I believe that the town is screwed. So here is how the game of Werewolf has gone so far. There are 2 wolves. There are 2 wolves, and there are 5 guardians. The guardians' roles are the snake, who is the seer. They can tell once a night who, if a person is a werewolf or a human. They find out in the morning, so if they die, they don't get to share that information. There are the 2 monkeys who know each other are human. There is the crow, who can feast upon the body of the hanged. I don't think they literally eat the person. The crow can figure out if the person who was hanged by the town was town or werewolf. And there's the spider, who can protect 1 person a night. So, basically everybody's dead at this point. We've lost the old man, the head of the town. We've lost the old man who cries wolf. We've lost Mochi, who was one of the monkeys. We've lost Muro, who was the snake. We've lost Kaori to the corruption. She's gone crazy and has tried to poison everybody. We've lost Yoshi, her younger son. Her older son, Oribe, is still around. Oribe is their family name. They're all actually Oribes, but I call the one with the glasses, the older son, Oribe, because I don't remember his first name. Nah, I don't remember. And then we have the priestess, Reimu, has also gone mad. It appears as though she killed the old man who cried wolf and Mochi. And also dead is the 2 reporters. They died night 1. And I think that's everybody that we lost. So who is remaining are Chemi, Reimu, who's the little girl who wandered in from outside. Chemi, Reimu, Nosoto, I believe his name is. He is confirmed human. He was saved the first night. And he was scoped out by Muro. Tai, the old lady, and the older Oribe son. So 5. There are 5. No, there are 6. Who am I forgetting? Reimu, Chemi, Nosoto, Tai, Oribe. Reimu, Chemi, Nosoto. Oh, and Haru. Haru is still alive. She is the granddaughter of the old man who died. So those 6 are left. It's very likely that 2 of them are wolves. It's looking like, realistically, Oribe is a wolf with the glasses. And then Haru is probably the other wolf because she's been acting very strangely. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Chemi or Tai be the wolf. We know Reimu is the other monkey. That was Mochi. Mochi exposed Reimu as the other monkey. So Reimu and Nosoto are safe, but 2 of the 4, being Haru, Oribe, Tai, and Chemi, 2 of them are wolves. So that's the full recap, or the TLDR recap, I should say. There's a few other little things in there, like the loop feature and stuff, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So let's go ahead and boot up Raging Loop. I am definitely enjoying this game a lot, and I can't wait to continue. All right, got plenty of water by my side for my voice acting skills. Love the music in this game. All right. So there's a lot's gonna happen here. But I think we're pretty screwed. All right. So we're on part 3. I believe you're supposed to stop streaming at part 4, but again, this game's 5 years old, so I don't really care too much to just say that. Okay, so here are the 6 that I talked about. Whew. All right. Where's the sake? Can't we just skip that part? The cleansing is important. Here you go, Nosato-sama. Thank you. That hits the spot. Chi-chan, you too. Chemi has had these eyes too. You can see how our eyes are kind of different. Oh, you can't see my cursor, but Chemi has had these eyes too, which make it look like she's, I don't know, she always talks about having seen God and stuff. So it's very curious that her eyes are kind of wonky like that. Yasukun. You just take a lick. But what about One-chan? Uematsu-sama cannot be here anymore. I shall look after the girl. What's the point? Chene, get a grip. Then let's begin. I vote to hang Madame Oribe. Well, Madame Oribe has gone mad, so I guess they're just not letting her into the feast. That's dumb. For what reason? She is dangerous. In that case, I will vote for Rikaku Uematsu-san for the same reason. So I assumed they were just out of the game, but I guess you have to hang the Yomibito because they've just been corrupted. I thought they were effectively dead because of the corruption. But if they're people that can be voted for, then the wolves win this shit free, because those are just votes you have to take for people that you know aren't wolves. What about the rest? This is a temporary vote for now. Say what you think. I think we should hang both. Doesn't really matter the order. I can't think straight right now. We should hang Rikaku Uematsu. We can at least talk to Kaori-san, but Rikaku is a mad beast. So very interestingly, basically everyone's kind of given up. Except for these two. I'm pretty sure these two are the wolves. What about you, child? They're eating One-chan? What's that supposed to mean? Listen, if you want to protect Rikako, then vote to hang Kaori Oribe. She won't understand. 3 didn't vote, and the 3 who did are in favor of hanging Uematsu-san. So it's decided. Say what? 3 didn't vote, and the 3 who did are in favor of hanging Uematsu. Well, she said both. He said Kaori. She didn't vote. She said Rikako. She didn't vote. So are they counting about him not voting? This is absurd. This is how you repay her for moving here and working so hard on our behalf? Hear me out, will you? My mom is just a bit out of it right now. We may still be able to reason with her. However, Uematsu-san is basically a mindless animal. She doesn't even have the capacity to vote on things. Unlike Mom, she's a Yomibito now. Even if we hang my mom today, what will we do tomorrow? Do you have a way of fixing Uematsu-san? I guess that's kind of a good point. Looks like it's decided. How simplistic. I know you're biased because Madame Oribe is a relative, but you don't see the big picture. What? Think about it. Our top priority is to kill the wolves. That comes before all else. Yomibito aren't wolves, are they? This guy will do anything to protect her. This basically proves that Rikako-san isn't a wolf. Huh? What do you mean? Remember the legend. The wolves are Yomotsu Okami, beings already corrupted by Yomi. Do you really believe they can become Yomibito as well? Yamawaki-san, what is your opinion? Well, that might be true. Here's a hypothesis. Powerful corruption slaughters you like it did those journalists and your brother. However, weaker levels of corruption cause madness. Mad guardians are wolves, while mad humans are Yomibito. Makes sense. That means that the corruption's punishment can only be slaughter for wolves, and either slaughter or Yomibito transformation for humans. That's just a convenient delusion. Hold on one second, I just gotta set something up. Oh. Hey Koyo, yeah, this man is a simp. Why do my eyes close when I read the text? That's kind of annoying. I was just checking on something, and for some reason my eyes are closing while I read the text. Indeed, I have no way to prove it, but I can make it seem more plausible. If wolves could go mad due to the corruption, would they even look like Rikako-san does? Hey, glad to see you're playing Raging Loop again. Yeah, I was gonna play Strive today, but I don't want to play Strive until the patch, honestly. These are beasts disguised as humans. Would they truly look like that if they'd gone mad? I think the beasts would show their true selves, their bestial fury. Is that what happened to Rikako-san? No. That might be true. She said the same thing again. Let me just move this over here. Hold on, I'm just moving something around, sorry. Dropping everything. Then maybe we should hang Kaori-san first. Taiba? You're basing your decision on fairy tales. We've actually had deaths here. This is ridiculous. I'm the one who's ridiculous. To accept the fear of the corruption means to accept the legends. See? I've accepted it. Fearing the corruption while disregarding the legends is what's truly ridiculous. Don't you think? Chiene. I'm afraid of God. I'm afraid of this God who toys with us as we dance on his palm. What are you saying? Regardless of... No. Because of that, we need to fight back against our fears. For that, we need weapons. Haruaki-san. Huh? Why him? Oh, get in, let's go. I vote for you, Yasukun. They foreshadowed Glass as being a wolf, so that makes me even more sure of Haru and him being wolves. Oh, he's definitely been foreshadowed as a wolf. What? What? Chiene? And then she immediately jumps on defending him? Sus. I'm not sure I understand you, Serizawa. Nosato-san, start the proper vote. There's no point in just talking. Huh? But... This is going to happen sooner or later. And if she's truly casting her vote, it's only fair for us to cast ours. But whether I can forgive you or not is another story, Chiene. I understand. No objections? Huh. Then let's begin the vote. Here's what I think. Nosato-san is half right. We're supposed to search for the wolves here, but I'm completely against relying on legends for evidence. Mochi, the old wolf guy, and Takumi Nichan all died at the hands of people. That's why we should look back over what's happened so far, instead of the legends. So how about this? First, who aside from me understood the purpose of the feast? Nosato-san said it himself. Meiko-chan is too young to understand. And Haru-chan... Honestly, I think she'd oppose Nosato-san and side with Yasukun regardless of the situation. Taiba-chan would look at the legends, obviously. She's the biggest believer here. What about Yasukun, though? I know it's been hard for him, and with his mom about to be hanged, I can understand why he would panic. But then, why push for Rikako-san's hanging? It's easy for us Yasumizu people to justify hanging the village heads, but you should understand what comes first. Death of a damned Yomibito is mandate. We should be looking for the immediate threat at hand, the wolves, before worrying about those words. The Yasukun I know would keep a cool head, even in a crisis. Get his ass. Chie, I understand what you're saying. I just can't forgive him. Huh? Whenever you talk, it always makes a mess of things. Takumi, Yoshitsugu, and Mochi are all dead because of you. And now you want to take my mother? I'm sick of you. Nichan, what is wrong? Calm down. So yeah, I forgot about the purpose of the feast, but it was an act of petty revenge. I used Haru-chan for that. Like you said, that's all there is to me. I'm a pretty boring person. Oh, he's cracking, dude. He's getting the Amogus gaslighting specialty. Love to see it. Are you still not satisfied? Yeah, this is totally out of character for you. Yasukun, I'm probably looking too deeply into it, but when Kaori-san set the food, only you and Haru-chan were absent. If the others had all been poisoned as planned, you'd be the only survivors. Haruaki-san notwithstanding. If you were a wolf, that'd be pretty good for you, right? This music's good too. Yeah, and he helped his mom make the food, right? Yup. Are you suggesting I convinced mom to poison everyone? That'd just be the worst. Yeah, Chiemi, glasses push all the way. She probably got the wolfsbane early in the morning. She was too busy otherwise, and it didn't look like she woke up early. By that point, she was already resolved to kill us. It's easy to imagine that someone had given her the idea the previous night. What? But we can't contact anyone at night. There are 2 wolves. What? For the sake of her only living son, Kaori-san was ready to kill everyone, even if it meant being subject to the corruption. Oh, so she's thinking it was the mother and son as the wolf duo. But I'm human. If you only had the wolves and a lone human at the end, votes would no longer matter. Haru-chan would not be able to do anything. No way! Nii-chan. Yasukun. That's impossible. I mean, if mom were a wolf, Yoshitsugu wouldn't have died. Yeah, what better way to throw them off your trail, though, than to kill your son? Yeah, for real. If you think it's Glasses and Haru, if you think it's Glasses and Kaori, I mean, you gotta kill him. He's the one who's actually influencing the meetings as well. She could have killed me to spare him, though. You think I convinced her to do that? She'd never listen. She loved him way more than me. Tiene, this is cruel. There's no way he'd say anything like that to his mom. I'm not saying the wolves killed Yoshi-kun. He might have just been out at night and killed by the corruption. Also, even if she wasn't a wolf, she'd help her son, even if it meant falling victim to the corruption. It's true. It sounds like you're saying whatever you can to make Nii-chan into the bad guy. What is wrong with you, Chiene? You always used to protect us. Yeah, she found a man is what happened. Was it him? Did Fusaishi-san tell you to say that? Did he make you change? No, he didn't. I'm just following his example and thinking for myself. Things don't want to be true. Things I don't want to be true could actually be true, and I can't look away from them. And so you decided to vote against me and ruin our friendship. I mean, listen to yourself. The Yasukun I knew would never try to guilt me into submission like that. You ask me, you're the one who's changed. So, who will you vote for? I need to take full responsibility for what I said. I suspected Yasukun, and I'm sticking to that. 1 vote for Yasunaga Uribe. We messed up the order, but in terms of seating order, Taiba is first. How will you vote? I will vote for Kaori-san. I don't think Uematsu-sama is a wolf. That's a fair vote, I think. If you think it's mother and son, or it's Haru and son, right? That's gotta be. That's my thought. Isn't it wasting a vote? It kind of, like, actually speaking, the mother has not done anything wrong. Well, she has not broken the rules, though. Her death has to be taken into the hands of the townsfolk through the vote, or she has to have successfully broken the rules so the corruption takes her. She will still be alive. She will still be alive tomorrow. So I do think she could, first of all, yeah, she could still be a wolf. And second of all, I think she's someone that needs to die if she's going to be this unstable. You think it's 0? No, I think she could be. I think it's mother and son or Haru and Glasses. I think that's the 2 possibilities. Yeah, like, you can't just leave her tied up for a day and a half. That's probably against the rules in some way as well. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Very, very, very tricky situation. I don't think it's a wasted vote, though. What about you, Nosato-san? So now you're being respectful.
My answer doesn't change. In fact, Serisada's words made me all the more certain. Yasunaga Oribe, in all honesty, your current attitude makes it hard to believe you are a wolf. But it's likely your mother is. 1 vote for Kaori Oribe.
Now, I mean, outside the game, this feels like throwing. Because he's the one who's the wolf in, like, both situations. So this feels like throwing. But I don't think it's like a non-vote. I think you might get rid of a wolf this way.
What about you, Yasunaga Oribe?
I'm still voting for Uematsu-san. This is sus as fuck too. Like, come on, he's a wolf. Like, this is so sus. Like, why would you vote for a third party here? There's no way you're gonna rally enough people to vote for Rikako. There's actually literally no way you can, because you'd have to get, oh no, wait, if it's him and Haru, they can tie the vote for Uematsu and make the little girl break the vote. This is a wolf play, dead ass. This is a wolf play, but it's the only way he doesn't lose his mom if his mom's a wolf, or, you know, it at least keeps the scent off of his mom if his mom's a wolf. I'm voting for Rika. Of course you are. You like, come on. I'm pissed. I'd be maulding. Dude, I would be maulding in this emergency meeting right now. My microphone would be peaking and like staticking. Like, I'd be so upset in this meeting. If I was Chiemi or even if I was Nosato and the rest of the group was a fucking feeder noob, like 5-year-old girl, and like an old person who's like in another window, like watching YouTube while playing Among Us, I'd be so mad right now. Oh yeah, the little girl wouldn't want to vote for Uematsu. That's true though. Now you could probably swing it. You could probably be like, listen, little girl, the only way to put her at peace, you know, she's suffering. The only way to put her at peace is to vote for her. Wait, Meiko-chan, think. Your vote may decide whether humans win or lose. Tiene, you'll go that far? You'll trick a child to take her vote? Brother, this is actual gaslighting. If that's what it takes, I'll do it. Meiko-chan, you don't want Rikako-san to be gone, right? No. Then, it's pointless. Even if she votes for me, it'll just be a 3-way tie. I choose who I don't need? Yes. Then, I'll go with the lady. She was scary.
You mean the woman from the dining hall?
Yeah.
It is decided then.
No. I'm so upset, even though I'm a wolf. This has to be a sick joke. Mom will die because of something like this?
A vote is a vote.
Nii-chan. It's over. Well, technically, you could probably argue that Kaori gets a vote. Yeah, also, that's like a hum moment right there. I heard muffled screams and sobs from the dining hall behind me. Gagged and tied, Kaori Oribe was still wailing. She couldn't move properly, and a pole fixed to her shoulders, but I was still worried enough to check every now and then. The lack of change helped calm my nerves, but at the same time, I resented myself a bit for it. Quite a bit of time had passed since the feast had begun. What kind of decision would they make? The daily wolf lynching, hanging, had failed every single time so far. Considering the number of days remaining and how many people were left, if they messed up today, the humans would lose all hope of surviving. Either Kaori Uribe or Rikaku Uematsu ended up chosen, there would just be no chance anymore. Pepega. It's weird to me that you are privy to the whole feast, but aren't actually present for it. People update him, like Chiemi tells him about it. Once I saw people leaving the hall, my mouth moved on its own. It's done then. Their eyes were steady. They walked in my direction. Not to me, though, but to the dining hall. You chose Kaori-san. I asked anyways. I was speaking to the last representative of sanity in this place, Nosato. Move. We didn't even converse. His tone and looks in his eyes were different from usual. His usual arrogant pride was gone, and in place stood a deadly determination. Yasunaga-kun. I lost. Haru-chan. I was against it. Oba-san. It's the will of Shinai-sama. Chemi? Haraki-san. Take the girl. Meiko was at the rear of the group. Somewhat hesitantly, she walked up to me. I moved aside to let them pass. They all entered the dining hall and dragged out the victim. The ones holding the ropes and doing the dragging were Kyonosuke Nosato and Chiemi Serizawa. Following behind was Tai Yamawaki, prodding her onward with a bamboo broom. Stop. As his mother cried out in pain, Yasunaga Oribe followed the group, hand in hand with Haru Makishima. Stop them. Haru Makishima was bawling. Yasunaga Oribe was shaking, not even trying to hide his sobs. His face was warped in anguish. Let's see. Yasu is gonna kill Fusaishi. So is Haraki mad at them because he thinks it's a wasted vote? Yeah, it looks like it. Maybe just because it's screwed. Well, like, I think he's just dead convinced it's it's Haru and Oribe. Someone. As the group faded away, the gag fell out. The victim's voice grew loud. Not a scrap of reasoning remained, only raw terror. Or perhaps madness. Oh my god, that laughter. The VA for the game is doing an amazing job with that laughter. Someone begged for her life. However, I didn't hear any pleas to the very end, and I painfully realized I wasn't participating in the feast. I wasn't part of this life selection game bound by otherworldly rules. So does her son always die, or is it your loop point after that happens? The loop point is all the way back to day 1, but we didn't get a choice that night. But there are earlier choices that we can unlock, so my guess is no. I'm guessing there are a bunch of different paths where a bunch of different people die in different ways. Don't look. I turned Meiko away, hugging her, and covered her ears. Because of that, I couldn't cover my own parent-like dedication. What a weird idea. Anyways, as the group disappeared into the mist, I somehow felt as though the screams or laughs grew even clearer. Oh, I don't have my heart rate monitor on. I was subject to this delusion till the very end. Let me put that on real quick. Oh man, I snapped back into place. You have to actually lick this thing, which is weird. Yeah, you have to get the heart well, you don't have to lick it, I guess. I'm just savage. But, like, you have to get the heart rate monitor wet so it can, like, pick up the electric pulse to turn on. Or whatever it is that turns it on. So, yeah, I guess you don't have to lick it. But, but that's how I turn it on. This game is sick. I almost want to play it myself, but it'll be more fun watching along. Yeah, this was a recommendation from Purist Club. Very good recommendation. All right, hit that beep. Open up the app. Okay, device connected. Sorry. Yeah, it's fun to actually, like, talk about it during the whole time, right? Like, that's what's the fun of VNs. Either you kind of do it at the same time as somebody else so that you can at least talk about it, or you play it together. Where is... There it is. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Wait, it keeps dying? Is it out of battery? This is so unprofessional. Especially VNs like this and Danganronpa, yeah. Yeah. Danganronpa's on the list. I have them all. I just haven't started them yet. During the final moments, the mother called out her son's name. It was the name of the elder son, and he responded by calling for his mother. There's my heart rate. But at the very last moment, it felt like the victim shouted out a different name. There was a strange sound. Oh my god, that was brutal. Followed by silence. Meiko. Meiko's body was surprisingly warm. In response, she just nodded. Let's escape from this place tomorrow. Give up on Rikako. Meiko started crying. The end with people and everybody voices someone else. Ooh, that could be fun. Get everybody in here and like a little collab. That could be super fun. I let her go, took her by the hand, and led her to the dorm. You know what else is fun in a similar vein? Me and Magic do this a lot. Those games that are like Telltale games. Not Telltale games. Dark Picture Anthology games. So like Until Dawn and those types of games. They actually, and like Heavy Rain and those types of games, yeah, they have modes where like individuals control the individual characters when it's their turn. And it's so fun, like, because you're committed to keeping your character alive. Because if you die, you don't get to play anymore. Oh, you want to be a voice actor? That's cool. I don't think I could ever do it. I can't keep a consistent voice for like anything. My own voice is barely consistent. There, I took all the remaining food I had. Then I escorted her back to her place. Yeah, those games are super cool. They're jump scare city though. Like they're literally all jump scares. I always freak out and scream. I have a funny story about one. It was Little Hope. It's like the one about the old like settler town. We beat the game, Magic and I, one weekend. And there's literally, on one of the bad ends, there's literally, everything is calm, all the monsters have died, everything is safe, but there's a jump scare at the last possible second right before it cuts to credits, and it scared the shit out of me. Since you were 4? Wow, that's awesome. Still crying, she nodded. Eat this, all of it, okay? I gave her some food and closed the door. Once I turned around, I saw them. Today's feast is over. There wasn't a hint of emotion in his voice. I see. As one who didn't participate in the feast, I was in no position to criticize or support them. They just turned around and returned to their places, leaving no indicator whether they'd actually heard me. 3 of them were headed in the same direction. I didn't feel like joining them, instead casting a glare at their backs as they walked. My powerlessness was killing me. Under the assumption I would die tomorrow, I decided I would go through the mist down to Saranaga, a strict taboo here. What kind of death would that get me? Would I be injured? Wander into some other world? Something else entirely, maybe. Or perhaps I'd be eaten by a monster. I still had that incomprehensible memory, but it was enough to make me suspect that that was the most likely scenario. Normally, people don't remember dying. The unknown was scary, but journeying into the unknown meant conquering that fear, so you could say there was some perks to remembering that death. But if it was guaranteed that I would die like that, I wasn't really keen on the idea. That'd hurt like hell, not to mention how terrifying the experience was. Then, think of a better way to die. One that won't hurt so much. Or at least, would be worth the pain. Like if it led to the survival of a young child. Anyway, I'd wager my life. All that remained was finding supporters. Closed my eyes and took a few deep breaths. Whoosh! I threw a Yakuza kick into the wall. Then I did a low kick with my other leg. Oh, Kamehameha wave? Oh. Wait. Oh, we're singing. This sounds like some anime OP or something. Are you just punching the walls? As I sang the Buddha's Ash Rock, I attacked the wall with my ass, which prompted a response from the other side. Shut up! I heard Shiamei's angry voice through the front door. Hey, you sound like you quite enjoyed it. No one would know how to react to that. The wall's here within, apparently. Anyway, let's escape tomorrow. That's your idea of conversation? If you can still talk like that, you're perfectly sane. Escape it is. Let's say bye-bye to this nest of crazy. Listen, Haruaki-san. I'm serious. Still outside my door, she fell silent. It was only about 8. Still a safe time to walk up to the door and unlocked it. Damn. You look awful. Is it that bad? No, I'm just joking. What's with all the jokes? Are you my boyfriend now or something? You put on a tough face, but it's a mask hiding some supernatural suffering, isn't it? Come on, talk to me. Well, that's fine, don't if you want to. Have a seat. Pardon the intrusion. Alone in the empty room, we sat cross-legged and looked at each other. Tell me what happened during the feast today. Who are the wolves? I don't know. Hell, I don't even care anymore. The situation was hopeless. She felt the same way. So far, there wasn't a single lynching with a good reason behind it, and it didn't feel like they'd gotten lucky and killed a wolf. If only that scrawny rich guy were a wolf. It'd be so easy to hate him. Takumi-san said he's clean, so that's not likely. I guess we don't have the crow either. We don't even know if Kaori was a wolf. I know. But still, assuming Yasunaga-kun was actually a wolf, I really doubted he was cold-hearted enough to keep up the act of a human while seeing off his mother to the death. Like Chiame had pointed out, it was best to assume Kaori-san had only done what she did for her son. If everyone died and only one was left, he'd be the victor, regardless of if he was a human or a wolf. Probably. Whatever the case, it was important to note that this was wrong to guess whether Yasunaga-kun was a wolf based on this alone. Kaori Uribe was in a messed up mental state that led to her plot to the deaths of herself and everyone else just to save her son. It was simply the immense power of motherly love at work. It messed up sending Haru-chan to the second floor. Kaori-san probably resented me for that. Not to mention, I was the one who'd pinned her down. Uematsu could be the crow? Yeah. I don't think it's Jerkface, because he would have said something, right? Unless you don't find out until the next day. Like, they did hang someone, though, so... that you would think you could say who it was. Turns out I couldn't follow your example. My example? Yeah. I tried to think and did stuff, but... well... That would put the target on his back? Well, he's already got a target on his back. He's already a human, right? Like, he's already confirmed human, so if he's the crow, who cares? Oh, they find out the next day. Never mind. Well, carefully deliberating your actions is never a bad thing. Also, it was worth noting that she pointed out that Yasunaga-kun tried to guilt-trip her wasn't like him. Her own intuition was important, too. Besides him, there was Tai-san, who believed nothing but the superstitions, Haru-chan, who just always agreed with Yasunaga-kun, and Meiko, the one who had sealed Kaori-san's fate. Why would you put it that way? She doesn't know what's going on. Everyone is sus. Yeah. That's why I don't even care who it is anymore. Well, then you should run away with me. I've decided to help Meiko-chan. How? By running away with her? I'm telling you, it's pointless. Well, it's better than sitting around and waiting for death, isn't it? And if she turns out to be a wolf, you'd be down to 1. Lucky day, huh? Would it be? I don't know anymore. No, it said suspicious. I killed someone. She said it casually, but I could tell it was hard for her to say. Oh, it's not your fault. I responded equally casually. I felt like breaking the illusion would be too much to handle. Wow. It's like you don't care at all. But you were against it, weren't you? Not stopping murder makes me a partner in crime, doesn't it? Well then I'm the same in that regard. Oh, well, true. Also, the law would understand that you made the wrong decisions because of the circumstances. Law, huh? Well, being punished under a proper rule of law is infinitely better than being punished by some weird laws of the mountain. Or, what? Do you want to die a supernatural death? No dice, huh? Yeah. Man, this was complicated.
神様ってやつのせいか。
Is it God's fault? Half of it, yeah.
もう半分は
But you can't explain the other half. Right.
じゃあ
Then
神様の方を話してよ。
talk about God, at least. How do I put this? God is misfortune. Hmm? Well, I don't mean that literally. It's just that it's because of God that we can't attain happiness.
それは
Is God visible? Yeah, we've all seen it. But its true form might be invisible.
目に見える部分について聞こ
Let me ask about the visible part.
う。それは
Is it human?
人間？
Though slowly and hesitantly, she gave me a light nod.
それは休みずの
Is it
誰か？
someone from Yasumizu? Silence. Neither a yes nor a no.
じゃあ
Then,
上藤吉の人間？
is it someone from Kami Fujiyoshi? She kept her silence. Her shoulders were shaking a bit.
じゃあ
Then, no, no, no! It's not humans. You can deal with humans, but God is beyond them. Shit. I knew it'd go like this.
落ち着いて説明するんだ。
Calm down and explain.
じゃないと僕
Otherwise,
も
we'll
やられ
both
る
be killed. Fine. I just want this nightmare to be over already. Hey, Haruaki-san, kill me. If it's at your hands, I think I can really die. Ooh, let's go. Let's go. She's been looping forever, dude. She didn't come back from college. She re-looped around after dying supernaturally before. What are you saying?
しっかりしろ。
Get a hold of yourself. I am. I'm not corrupted. I'm not insane. I'm not. It's Fujiyoshi that's crazy. It's God that's crazy. Yeah, now I'm thinking for sure she's looping because she said she saw God, right? So it's like almost for sure she's looping.
神様とは状態のこと
Is
なのか？
God some state of being? I just kind of blurted out something without thinking. Chemi was clearly in a state of panic. The despair was one cause, but someone panicked like this couldn't explain themselves properly. Also, I didn't feel like it was simply some spiritual being she could see. I think everyone is playing Dead by Daylight. I talked about that before. I feel like this is some shit where like they're in like limbo or purgatory or even hell, and Fusaishi died in the motorcycle accident, and they're all just, they have to live out this hell in this like shitty town that doesn't really exist. And we'll probably get into like how everybody died and stuff too. Explaining a sense like that wasn't easy, and trying to explain it in detail was also a reminder of how much it scared her. Because remember, Chemi had some run-in with like, well, that was in middle school though, so that wasn't like recently. But he also looped, so wouldn't he have seen it too? Not necessarily. Maybe she's on her like fucking 50th loop. I had to try and understand what she was sensing. Find a better word for it than God. And maybe he did. Maybe it is the Okami. Yeah, it could be. Like, she never said wolf or anything. She just said she saw God. That's what I thought to myself after saying these words, but why did she suddenly go quiet? Maybe the sheep is God. She was raising her head, and her eyes were wide, staring right at me. She'd completely stopped voicing her pain. Did I hit the nail on the head? As I considered that possibility, I felt a cold, damp breeze from behind me. She wasn't staring at me. Oh God, no. Okami and Okami are a joke in Japan? Like the game too. Yeah, I just know they use Okami in here. And yeah, it's yeah, so it's like it's a play on words, right? She wasn't staring at me, she was staring at something behind me. I turned around, following the direction of her eyes. How long had the front door been open? Had I forgotten to lock the door? Holy shit! How long had that thing been there? Wait, that's... What the fuck is that? There was a person outside. Was it even human? Through the darkness, I could see it definitely had a humanoid silhouette. but it was definitely abnormal. His body was covered in bandages. No, sutras. It was a smallish boy, or maybe a girl, covered in marked cloth. Again, was it even human? I asked the same question again, unable to even voice the words. I couldn't move a finger, or rather, I didn't because I had no idea what would have happened if I did, and the tension began to overwhelm me. I saw its lips move. The wolves cometh to the smell of Yomi. Cleanse, shelter, and dream. Is this Haru? Daughter of Fushiyoshi. Ooh. I heard something fall. Turned back around, I realized it was Chemi. Chemi? Still confused, I rushed over and caught her. It was a momentary loss of consciousness. She hadn't fainted. She just seemed to be drifting at the border of reality. Hey, wake up. Why am I here? What was that thing? What? Thin. Weird. I'm so sleepy. Sorry, I'm going back. Chemi stood up. Her eyes were utterly devoid of life. She headed to the door. It was closed. There was no one there. I set that matter aside for now. Chemi was way more important. I had to stop her. That was why I'll take you out of here. Wrap my arms around her. If you want to throw away your life, give it to me. It's how romantic. Tomorrow morning, I'll take you and Mako, and we'll leave this place. You and Mako? Not just you? That was her first response in a while. Well, you entrusted her to me. I'll honor that trust you showed me until the end. Ah, man of integrity, huh? You noticed. Well, there's also the fact that I'm just not too keen on letting a child die. You've dropped the tough guy act, Haruaki-san. Also, when did you drop the honorific? Oh, you don't like it? I don't mind. Shouldn't there be a transition point for these sorts of things? Go out with me. Okay. So, let's get out of here. Okay. Just so you know, I'm only saying this because I don't mind dying with you. Sorry, but Mako-chan's barely a blip on my radar. That's not very responsible, is it? Chemi-san's a girl with many brain problems, so she prefers to rely on people older than her. Leave it to me. Also, we're taking anyone who wishes to join us. What? I'm not getting some kind of special treatment here? You are. The others have a choice. But now that we're dating, I'm taking you with me whether you like it or not. This guy's... I don't like this vibe, sorry. Not sure I'm happy about that one. Did you know I'm actually not a very popular guy? I knew this. Haruaki-san. Aw, arigato. Her teary voice compelled me to embrace her. If I'm killed by the wolves tonight... No, don't say that. I don't care what, but take part of me outside. Don't worry. I'm scared. I'm here. I'm here for you. It hurt to say baseless things. Even so, I kept saying whatever I could to make her feel better. She's dead, though. If I'm the glasses kid, I'm killing her. You think? I suck at werewolves, so... Yasu would probably understand that. Oh, I guess if you kill her... Then it's 3v2. Yeah, then you lose a wolf. For sure. For sure you lose a wolf. Because she accused him. And then if you die that next night, it's like obvious. If she dies, I'm killing Yasu myself. Yeah, basically, so they should kill the little girl or the old lady, right? The only way it's not a bad play is if Yasu isn't a wolf. Yeah, then the wolf could pin it on Yasu the next day. Then it's free, right? Then it's like then you win. If that emergency meetings happens and you're the wolf and you're not Yasu, you are cheering for that. Yep. I'm learning how to play Amogus, finally, in 2022. Even if wolves didn't pay us a visit, we'd have to respect the rules of living here. We awkwardly exchanged some parting words. I saw her off as she returned to her room, her parting ways with a frail smile on her damp face. Also, if I'm in this town and this happens to me, I am sleeping with a gun under my pillow, and if the wolf comes to kill me, I am shooting them. I know the corruption will kill me because I broke the rules, but it's a much better way for the human. I'm dead anyways. It's a much better way for the humans to survive. Unless it's like extra supernatural and like you get frozen while the wolf just has free reign to kill you. Oh man. 5/16, Friday. It's Friday night. It's actually Friday morning. Bro, you aren't gonna kill the wolf with that gun? The wolf is just a person. Unless the wolf, like the wolf doesn't go full fucking wolf mode, do they? Maybe they do. Aside from being hungry, I woke up the same as always. Excuse me, I hadn't died. The only real difference this morning was that I could go outside as I pleased. It was still misty out, and I couldn't see much beyond the dorm. You saw the thing? Yeah, is that the wolf though? Is that like the wolf in the game, or is that something else? Because like, they say that the wolf... Hey Aura. I'm still catching up so I can't watch, but I really wish I was caught up because that I've seen on the... I've been on the Takumi as a wolf train ever since it was revealed he was the snake. Anyways, bye, have fun. Bye Aura, I hope you catch up before the next one. We talked about that too, actually. That was a conversation we had. It makes me so happy that like Aura Dude is using the YouTube. I won't click anymore. Is using the YouTube to like catch up. That makes me so happy. Dikembe was killed by a person with a gun, so they didn't think they wolf out. It's they just like take the gun and just it's like a wolf holding a gun. That's like the funniest image to me. Could we really leave this place? We could. It had to be physically possible. The idea we couldn't was just speculation. No matter how much this place defied reality. What was that thing? Why had Cheme collapsed? How sane were we? Was this all even really happening? Human senses and memories often lied to us though, so just dismissing anything that didn't make sense as an illusion wasn't a good idea. That thing had actually visited us. Its appearance was strange, but I had little proof that it was something supernatural. I think that might have been Haru. Thus, that had to be a human. As for the reason Cheme collapsed, there were quite a few possibilities. Unless it was a trick sheet scheme with that thing beforehand. That being had to have been too much for her to handle emotionally. What did that thing say again? The wolves cometh to the smell of Yomi. Cleanse, shelter, and dream, daughter of Fujiyoshi. Basically seemed like a fancy way of saying, get back to your room and sleep. So it was a warning from those who made the rules. Then, was that something on the mountain? Great Lord Shinai's side? No. To be honest, I'd say it was more like something from the other side. I mean, it kind of fit my image of a Yomibito. It wore sutras in place of clothing, and the cloth over its face reminded me of a funeral shroud. Grandma wore that cloth over her face in the first episode. The word corruption seemed particularly fitting. It had a real sinister aura, to me anyway. Though, that was strange. Great Lord Shinai was the enemy of the forces of Yomi. Yomibito wouldn't act as his messengers. The contradiction. It was quite eerie, an alluring unknown. But that didn't matter now. My goal was to let Cheme and any supporters we had escape. I returned to the room, made my futon, and started searching again. The futon was the only thing in the closet. There was nothing I could use as a weapon. I gave up, left the room, and went to Chiemi's. If the worst had come to pass, I had to fulfill her last request. Yeah, why would you? Yeah, you gotta run to Chiemi's room, right? Oh, the door was locked. That's a good sign, right? So the wolf was... I knocked. She came out just after a few seconds. Apparently, she was already ready to go. I'll just make my bed. Yeah, dude, I don't even make my bed. I don't even make my bed on a day where I'm like chilling and woke up early and stuff. I'm not gonna go make my bed if my girlfriend's potentially dead. I want a weapon. I figured. Gunge? Oh. She gave me a particularly large knife with a sheath. Probably used for hunting. Knife. Yeah, I don't make my bed, period, actually. Got anything for yourself? Actually, you can see my unmade bed in every, like, WASD stream. It's like, it's like in the background. It looks like shit. I lost my kitchen knife, so you have to protect me. All right? Sure. I had zero confidence in pulling it off, but sometimes bravado was important to hold on to. We went to Haruchan's room. It wasn't locked. Oh, she's dead. Wait, Haru's dead? The room was no bigger than the others, but it was a huge mess. But it didn't look like there was a corpse present. She either already woken up and went outside without locking the door, or her corpse was somewhere inside, like Yoshitsugu-kun. I gained a habit of expecting the worst. What about Yasunaga-kun? The same. Wait, they're both like missing? So yeah, they're sus. Let's check on Meiko. Today's mist was denser than usual. Just extending my arm was enough to make my hand hazy and indistinct. I kept walking, knife in my right hand and Chiemi's hand in my left. Oh my god, that's so cute. The settlement was way too quiet. We headed for the village plaza. I almost tripped a few times on the field paths, but Chiemi kept me on my feet with just a few warnings. I could keep going as long as she was with me. We arrived at the plaza. There was no one there. Basically, there was no need to use the dining hall as the go-to gathering spot anymore. We passed Rikaku Ematsu's house. It didn't look unlocked, but I couldn't hear any indications of movement from inside. Yeah, she probably starved to... She's gonna, like, starve to death or die of dehydration. It's been, like, over a day. Or did something happen here? Whatever the case, I had no choice but to ignore her. It was here, right? Yeah. Meiko's place was... open? Yeah, you kill Meiko here, right? Thankfully, all I found inside was just a messy futon. It was the same as Haruchan's room. But now that it happened with 3 people, it was safe to assume something wasn't right. Chiemi, sorry, but you can have this back. Huh? I gave her the knife and grabbed a stick lying against the house. Let's go. What's wrong? I need a weapon I can actually use. That aside, where do we go next? To the hall, right? As it turned out, that was exactly where the other inhabitants were. With the exception of one, anyway. You're late. Or maybe we're early. Harumakashima, she was in her usual agitated state. Tai's here. She was silently chanting something to herself. Meiko, Haru-chan, had her hands on her shoulder, but she still looked anxious. Finally, good morning, Chiene. Oh, they killed Nosato. And Haruaki Fusaishi-san. Yasunaga Oribe. His face was grim. That was all the people here, meaning that... So they finally got Nosato-san, huh? A simple process of elimination was enough to know that he was gone. Anyway, it was time for the first battle. Meiko, come here. Me? She tried to walk to us. No! But Harumakashima stopped her. It was time. I raised my stick and... Huh? So you finally reveal your true colors, Fusaishi-san. Yasunaga Oribe stood in my way. He had a menacing-looking grass sickle in his right hand. He readied it for a swing at me. You're the cause of all this misery here. It's the end, so I knew it would come down to pure strength. No. No way. What? You were tricked. He's the one who caused all this. Not letting him join the feast was a mistake. If we'd hanged him, Mom, Yoshitsugu, and everyone else would still be alive. Wait, no, that's... We'll hang him today. That will end everything. Yasunaga-kun, you shouldn't try to advance the situation based on a story nobody knows. What about you? Why did you try to attack? Oh, good point. I'll tell you I want to take back the hostage. But that's... Well, before that, let me just help Chieme-chan understand. Look how confused she is. Huh? What? They didn't say another word. Chieme and Meiko were the only ones who seemed confused at all. Basically, the others had prepared for this. Yeah, the wolves are prepared, right? Haru and Yasunaga got up early, and they knew that shit was about to go down today because it's basically do or die here. And they need Meiko's vote. So I guess they took Meiko. Yeah, they're out. Yeah, out. They're outed. Okay, I was trying to read that. Ignoring who's a wolf here, there's two important things you gotta keep in mind. First, yesterday I told Meiko that I wanted to escape the settlement with her. It's best to assume everyone heard that. Bro, he set a trap? He set a trap. He set it on purpose. Escaping the village is taboo. I know that. The question is whether letting someone escape makes you a target of the corruption. That was why you secured Meiko first thing in the morning, and I can totally understand that. The other thing is that Chieme and Yasunaga-kun ended up opposing sides yesterday. Owing to that, today's feast would be a one-on-one between them. Since Haru-chan would almost always take Yasunaga-kun's side, he'd have an advantage. But with Tai-san and Meiko to swing votes, victory wasn't guaranteed. That's why you decided that reconciling with Chieme and going after the only outsider here was the safest way, right? You're wrong. I'm not. That's why you took Meiko as a hostage. You want me silenced. No. I thought you'd take her as a hostage and ask us to do horrible things. This guy's just spouting nonsense now. What would I gain from that? I mean, I'm not part of the feast. You agreed to that yourself, didn't you? That was a mistake. If it's not you, then who else could be the cause of everything here? Haru-chan and I lost family. Taiba lost Takumi-san. We all lost people important to us. And who didn't lose anything? Only you, Haruaki Fusaishi-san. So that was his story, huh? Sorry, Yasunaga-kun, but you're a bad storyteller. You seem to have a habit of putting a wall of well-spoken words in when lying or putting up an act. Please stop messing around. Oh, but I'm not, Yasunaga-kun. You're trying way too hard to manipulate people using their emotions. You also underestimate Chieme by thinking you can just use that as a smokescreen for the holes in your story. Well, from an emotional standpoint, blaming me for everything is definitely the easiest way. But, on the other hand, you're selling yourself short. You're calm, cool, and collected. The type of guy who argues against adult absurdity with facts and logic. Please stop this pointless analysis. Well, that's something for the villagers to decide, not me. They're the ones who have known you for years. Of course, I understand you and went through something difficult enough to change you. Then, let me ask you this. Are you blaming everything on the outsider because you've lost your own emotions? Lost to your own emotions, excuse me. Or are you actually acting randomly to make sure you hang me and waste today's feast so we can tip the scales in your favor? As in, are you someone who'd benefit from wasting today's lynching? What do you think, Chieme? She gasped and looked at Yasunaga Aribe. There was suspicion in her eyes, not trust. You could have just said that I was a wolf. You could have just said that I was a wolf. Yet, you didn't. You just said I'm the cause of all this. Because you're a wolf yourself. That's a classic. When I'm imposter or mafia, I refuse from saying the word imposter because I know I'll say it weird if I am the imposter. Like I'll put a different inflection to it. So like in this case, I would avoid saying wolf because I know I would put a different inflection to it. You hate lying, don't you? You know, when the chips are down, you have to commit to the lie. Chiene? You're gonna believe him? Making an emotional appeal in the face of cold logic is a bad move here. You need to fight with logic until the end. Shut up. What do you know? You just wasted time, not doing anything because you couldn't. He had a point there. I did feel like shit about that. I should have joined the feast from the get-go. If I had, I wouldn't have wasted times on pointless arguments and autopsies. However, you know, right here, there's a guy who can think for himself, but just played along with some dumb superstition, letting both his brother and mother die. As an adult, I'm really mad at him. Yasunaga-kun. Once I said that, Yasunaga Ribe hung his head and fell silent. 10 seconds of silence was enough for everyone to realize he had lost the argument. However, the expression on his face was abnormally calm. True, I really am a wolf. Yeah, obviously. He spoke as if it wasn't a big deal. But you are misunderstanding a few things. But that just made it seem even more abnormal. We've already won. Oh man, the stinger. We've already won. Shit. Is that true though? He tossed away the grass sickle. His voice wasn't nearly as passionate as before, as it was cold and rational. He demonstrated confidence rooted in sound logic, but I couldn't understand what he meant. Other wolf, please reveal yourself. What was the point of that? Are you sure, Yasuku? Wait, Grandma? Yes, that's enough. I am the other wolf. Tai, huh? I couldn't make sense of this. He had decided to graciously concede by selling out his partner now that he'd been cornered? No, he said he'd already won. Even if there were 2 wolves, there were 4 of us. They'd lose in votes. My answer came from a completely unexpected direction. Nii-chan. Nii-chan. You and Taiba really are the wolves? A shout of pure joy? She's happy about it. She did react very emotionally when she was targeted by Chieme in the second feast. That's true. So she is a human on... She did kill Granddad. I know it was either Tai or Haru, but at the time, it felt like more like Tai. Yeah, if Haru wasn't a wolf, she's still simping for Yasu, and they win free. Yeah, that's what it seems like. But... hold on, let's just read. She ran to Yasunaga Oribe and hugged him. He hesitated for a moment, but reciprocated. Meiko, still as clueless as ever, slowly walked over to us. Oni-chan. I'm sorry. Hide behind Chieme. Haruaki-san, what is this? I don't know. I really didn't, but I had a feeling that something wasn't quite right for a while now, and I suspected it'd be made clear now. I was certain of it, and it left me feeling uneasy. Okay. Oh, look at this face. Look at this smug Haru. Can you explain? Taiba, you do it. Fine. Wait, I bet there's another role. I bet there's another role, and it's one of the humans who has to make the wolves win. Like the traitor or something. I remember, Zen, you asked, is there only 5 roles? I bet there's another role. Fine. I've been relying on you too much all this time. So she wasn't even denying it. Chi-chan, Meiko-chan. This is something I never told you. A long time ago, when I was still a little girl, Kami Fujiyoshi's people got drunk and revealed the truth behind the festival of the Yomi Purge. The truth. That's why Meiko drew the cattle. Oh. Tayama Iwaki told us a story that was very similar to the legend they told in the Strange Village. Well, it was less like it was similar, and more like it was looking at it from the opposite angle. Ooh, this is sick. The part about the Great Lord Shinai sending 5 guardians to help people was the same. 4 of them teamed up with the humans to murder the wolf. However, in the real story, the good and bad sides were completely reversed. Apparently, the people in the 4 guardians joined Yomi in the very first feast of the Yomi Purge. Basically, all of them were Yomibito. And they all ganged up on, overpowered, and expulsed the wolves, who tried to resist until the very end. That meant this land had belonged to Yomibito for a long, long time. The wolves were summoned here by none other than Shinai-sama himself. Some people of Yasumizu were given the blessing of the wolves and had to free Yasumizu of the Yomibito. Basically, it was a holy war for them. And that was the truth behind the Feast of the Yomi Purge. Tai Yamawaki continued her explanation. At first, we thought the people of Kamifujiyoshi just made it up to make fun of us. But we found out it was true when we became blessed by Shinai-sama himself. So you see, Chi-chan, that's why we had to slay everyone. It hurt a lot though. Takumi suffered greatly too. But we had to do it. To save the Yomibito. That's what Shinai-sama said. Yamawaki was crying. Alright. She was now a confirmed culprit who believed the murders to be salvation. There was just 2 more points I didn't understand. The corruption and the eerie message. Most things made sense if you switch Shinai-sama's enemies and allies. The idea that people wearing those outfits could be the good guys was kind of weird, but, well, as was the culture here. So maybe only the Yomibito saw them as evil. Maybe that was the story here. The problem here was that I didn't know that. Chemi didn't know this. I only found out when I was blessed. So even Yasunaga-kun didn't know about it. I remembered some of his words. This is just something I heard from a teacher at school, but you could do it by giving them something to fight for, couldn't you? Basically, you need to make them think that they're doing the right thing. Oh. Damn, foreshadowing. He really hated lies, didn't he? He basically told me the truth of things. His feast actually had a system that made zealous murderers of people. Whatever. Enough about Aribe. Then, why does Haru-chan know? So he must have told her. And that's why she was fucked up after the first night. That's why she was all, like, freaked out. Because he told her everything. Basically, she already knew the real story, and that the wolves were the good guys? Why? Who told her? The Okami-sama told me. They showed up in my dreams on the day Oji-chan died and told me about it. It is another role. Nonsense. Insanity. Did she seriously decide to throw her life? Did she seriously decide to throw her life away over a dream? But on the day Oji-chan died, he died the night before Haru-chan tried to run away from the settlement. She believed the dream. She started to despair over being surrounded by Yomibito and planned to escape. That made sense. But I did think that Taiba would know the rest of the story. There's no way she couldn't. But she didn't say it, so I thought that maybe she was a wolf. And I began to think the same thing about Ni-chan when we talked. It all clicked. She believed. She believed the sudden revelation, despite lack of proof, and that the man she liked was the minority that had justice on his side. As of right now, she said she would betray the humans to join the wolves. She believed Yasunaga Aribe was right with all her heart. And so, the wolf, Yasunaga Aribe, had 3 votes for the feast. I can't be killed even if Chiene and Meiko both vote for me. Even if you bend the rules and count Fusashi-san's vote, it'd still just be a 3. Couldn't choose one even if we did a final vote. And now, without either wolf dying, we win. It was easy. I saw it clearly now. I understood. Haruaki-san, is he? Yeah, Yasunaga-kun is right. We lose. Everyone had different reactions to my words. Chemi backed away and gasped. Tai Yamawaki closed her eyes and sighed. Meiko didn't seem to understand anything. Yasunaga Aribe didn't react at all. Haru Makishima was smiling. Oh man. All I really had left was struggling like the filthy, annoying adult I was. Haru-chan. What? Oh, Ni-chan. What will happen to Fusashi-san? I'll ignore him if he doesn't interfere. I see. We're going in though, right, chat? Like, we're if we have the choice, we're trying to stop this nonsense. But I couldn't enjoy my sudden jump in popularity. We don't have to slay him. Shinai-sama will do something if need be. That dispassionate tone didn't do much to convince me he truly believed these ridiculous superstitions.
I think you just try to leave?
でも
Hell no. We gotta
黙っ
fight
て
for
はいないので
Chiemi.
しょあなたは
But you won't ignore this, will you?
さあ
Who
ね
knows?
正直
Honestly, if you're the good
そっ
guys,
ちが善玉なら
I don't know if I should be helping the
読み人
Omibito
側に手を貸すのも
side. Haruaki-san,
思ったより薄情な
you're
んです
cooler than I thought.
都会人の
We
合
city
理性
folk
とでも
value
思ってくれ
very
れば
a well-reasoned argument.
見損なった
Oh, with Chiemi. Yes, if we can leave together, I'm
正しい
super
判断
down.
です
I want to say I misjudged you. It's the right decision. Very right, in fact. Big words. Hey, what the hell? You said you like Chiene, don't you? And now you're gonna abandon her? Good point. Well, yeah, I was pretty damn cold-blooded. I'm
痛いところを突かれる
not
ばか
too
り
fond
で
of
も
being hit
不
where
愉
it
快だ
hurts,
から
so I guess I'll respond.
はるちゃんよ
Yeah, just leave the guy hanging on the hook. Haru-chan. Nani?
分かってると思う
You know you're gonna die,
君
right?
はそれ
You're
で
okay with that?
いい
Huh? This is pretty damn bad, honestly. Apparently, this great Lord Shinai was a huge scumbag. You should have told her that much.
君に聖典を
Even if you've been
教えた
told the
こと
real
で
story,
君が人
you're
を
still a
殺したこと
human.
に変わりはない君は
You
狼
haven't
に
become a
変わりは
wolf,
ない
have you? You didn't kill Takumi-san or Nosato-san, right? No, I didn't. I don't know why, but you're just a human who knows the real story. That's why the human's defeat will mean your death. You said you thought Yasunaga-kun might have been a wolf when you talked together, right? I don't think he would ever let anything like that slip, so he probably realized your role from the way that you were acting. He was probably trying to lead you by showing hints, but not revealing his full identity in order to test whether you'd join him. The wolves probably knew there was a human who had that role.
それが
What of
ど
it?
うした
He actually said that? That was the part where he was supposed to start lying. By not denying that, you basically admitted that there was an absolute scumbag who used Haru-chan knowing you'd have to kill her. He was that bad at lying? Then how did he survive this long? Wait, something was very wrong. I'd seriously misunderstood something here. And soon enough, my hunch was proven right. Seriously? What of it? Haru-chan. Haru Makishima's voice was brimming with joy. Listen to this soundtrack. This is so good. Carefree smile. The sound design is sick. Laced with seductive intoxication. Yomibito need to be hung. We're corrupt, filthy, and disgusting. We can only be saved by the wolves' whirls and claws. Oh. Love it. Everyone knows that. That's why you finished off Kaori-san, right? You wanted to make your mother happy.
あ
Yeah. Exactly. Sonotori. Ni-chan. Make me happy too. Kill me. Yasunaga Oribe brought her closer without even a flicker of emotion crossing his face. Tai Yamawaki watched them with a broad smile. What the hell? What were these people?
それで
So, Chiene,
知恵ね
what will you do?
おとなしく
If you listen to me,
救って
I'll save you. I underestimated it. I underestimated the madness of Yasumizu, and I realized too late that the Feast of the Yomi Purge wasn't a system where zealous murderers killed each other. There was something here that completely shattered the people on a fundamental level. It was like a gear of madness. Those who knew the real story found salvation in death. That insane tale had instantly convinced people that it was right to agree and to find peace in that. And I was actually surrounded by those very people. Understanding that made me remember that she was from here too. Cheme was trying to take a step forward. I should have realized this earlier. She, who was afraid of God, was just like them, who accepted their salvation. Both brands of madness probably had roots in the exact same thing, so she was just as susceptible to madness as they were. However, it wasn't too late for her. Yasunaga Aribe's expression stayed the same, but right before I looked away from him, I saw a slight change. It was bitterness, irritation, something out of place on a victor's face. That made me realize That his plan for the scene wasn't lost to madness. That I had no choice but to take advantage of the opportunity. I grabbed Chiemi's hand. I pulled with so much force that she fell on her backside, but I didn't care. I dashed past her and swung my weapon at Yasunaga Uribe. I hit Haru Makishima once. Tai Yamawaki twice, brother? He's just beating them down with a stick? And Yasunaga Uribe 5 or 6 times. Then I ran to Chiemi and Meiko, who were completely dumbfounded and fled the hall. There was no time to waste. I had to hurry up and escape. If I didn't, I'd waste the one chance he'd given me. Haruaki-san, what are you doing? What's going on? Hey, Chiemi. What? Yasunaga-kun really has a good head on his shoulders, doesn't he? What are you talking about? My hand hurts. I'm gonna fall. I was probably irritated, and not just because of hunger. It was because of the epiphany that I'd had, and because I'd taken so long to reach it. Yasunaga Uribe had a different motive. You have a crush on Chiemi Serizawa, so you don't want to hurt her. But if no one else does, so you use what little reason you still had to conclude that the only way to save her was through escape. But letting someone escape would be subjecting everyone else to the corruption. So you had to have me beat everyone up and take her by force to avoid that? Mod check? Does that add up? If he didn't intend to let me run away, he wouldn't have thrown away the sickle. It was basically signaling for me to understand and finally attack him. In the end, he was far more clever than me. I never stopped dancing to his tune, regardless of... But no, exactly because of that, I had to help these two escape no matter what. After all, I am an adult. By the way, using an adult without relying on one yourself was a very adult thing to do, Yasunaga Uribe-kun. Good luck with the rest. We crossed the field paths, went past the stone graves, over the boundary. Descending the cliff took a lot of patience. It didn't seem like they were chasing us, so we could go down carefully. Yeah, Yasu isn't completely irredeemable, huh? Someone jumped in. Someone walked into your room and made you jump. That's funny. Jimmy's expression was dead. She'd been hit hard by a sudden revelation. The game board had been flipped on her. She'd lost. And now she'd have to suddenly say goodbye to her old friends. It was hard to just laugh it off. Should I have told her about Yasunaga-kun's intentions? I did consider it, but couldn't bring myself to. He chose to save her by sacrificing their relationship. If she knew, she'd probably want to go back to the settlement. Or maybe I just didn't want to say it because of my pride as a man. That was fine by me too. Being able to shrug off such unfairness was one of the blessings of adulthood. So I consoled Chiemi, shouted to Meiko to be more careful, and generally talked as much as I could. The mist grew even denser. Hey, Chiemi. I think we're already outside the village. Maybe. We did it. And look, nothing happened. Yatta? Yep. Now let's cross the river and return to town. Where's the river? I couldn't see anything. I had just lost my bearing. I hadn't just lost my bearings. It was worse than that. I couldn't even see Chiemi or Meiko's faces, even though I was holding their hands. We were already at the bottom of the cliff, walking on the stones below. We heard water, so it was clear that we were close to the river. But I didn't know if we could keep going right now. Let's rest. We can't. Chiemi? I thought she was going to freak out again, but... No, that's not it. She stopped me. Don't you hear it? Ignore the water. I don't hear anything. Confused, I strained my ears. What am I supposed to hear? Woof! Woof! They're coming after us. They were acting strange. I strained my ears again. Was it above us? I could hear the faint sound of rustling leaves from the top of the cliff. Oh god. We gotta run! I'm tired! Haruaki-san, take Meiko-chan. The intensity in Chiemi's voice made me take the situation more seriously. What if the sound was just the wind, though? Was she jumping at shadows? But
Or if you want. Oh, sorry. I had to yawn. But I wouldn't be lying if I said I wasn't worried. There it is, everyone's favorite picture. After all, a question remained unanswered, and according to the legend, this was their headquarters. Wait, they were the good guys, right? Still, this wasn't a normal place. I had to get out of here as soon as possible. After a while, I was forced to recognize the anomaly. We couldn't reach the river. I ran along the river bend. It should have just been small, just a few meters wide, but even after 10 minutes of running, there was no sight of the river. We couldn't get anywhere. It was just like Ring Wanderung. Ring Wanderung. I've never heard of that. Oh, a phenomenon where people wandering snowy peaks lose their sense of direction and just end up walking in circles. However, that sounds like one of those things that, like, it's a really specific German term for it. It's probably pronounced like Ringwanderung or something like that. Even if my sight was limited, how could anyone get lost in such a small riverbed? I could hear the stream right next to me. It felt so wrong. It was good as blind. All I could trust were my ears, but that just made me realize how useless that was to rely on. I trusted my sense of direction less with every passing second, so the sounds of parting grass in the distance, the sound of claws stepping on the rocks, I felt like they were getting closer. I couldn't be certain. Eventually, we slowed down. The others didn't say anything, but they were clearly exhausted. We hadn't eaten for days, not to mention the dense mist made our clothes all uncomfortably damp and cold. Dude, why'd there have to be a thunderstorm outside? Oh no. Extra spooky. We walked along the riverbed without uttering a single word. The sound of water wasn't getting any closer, but something else sure was. Something. Things I didn't know scare me. The chill and fear struggled. Excuse me. The chill and the fear strangled me like a garrote as I carried Mako, passing out from exhaustion, on my back. How long have we been doing this? Suddenly, the hand I was dragging became heavier. Chemi had stopped. Haruaki-san. She called my name through the mist. What? I tried to sound lighthearted, but I wasn't confident I'd pulled it off. We're done for. Hey, Omni. You're here to kill chaos? No, we're fighting werewolves now. Her voice suggested the image of a grim smile. What are you saying? Unlike before, I couldn't manage the defiant tone I'd used whenever she'd said something stupid. Bro? It was true that something unnatural was happening, and that there was no simple explanation. And Chemi was wearing down, both physically and emotionally. Let's rest a bit. We'll get through this if we just go a bit farther. Don't worry. No, it's impossible. Why? I think you can't get past this river as long as I'm with you. What? That was like... You heard what they said. We are the Yomibito. So you're not worthy of crossing or something? I mean, I've been eating Yasumizu's food since I was a little girl. And I'm corrupted. Chemi? Don't look at me. I turned around and pulled her by the arm. I looked at her face from point-blank range. It was covered in brown and yellow blisters. Before I could even be surprised or disgusted, I just kissed her. Aww. The sugary taste of blood, pus, and rust filled my mouth and spread throughout my throat. I didn't care. Okay, maybe that's not so cute or romantic when described like that. Then, to discard all unnecessary emotions, I hugged her as hard as I could. My breathing and thoughts ceased. I kept it up until the pain began to fade. She's gonna die. Then disappeared completely. Eventually, our lips were separated again. She prioritized words over breaths. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Even so, I hugged her tight. I couldn't lose to something so ridiculous. Me in every fighting game ever when my opponent's waking up. She weakly hugged me back, but she couldn't keep it up for long. Let's go. I'm telling you that... Let's go. The presence in the distance was definitely closing in. We walked. I felt like I'd been walking for several hours now. Our pursuers were close now, but I had no intention of rushing. Chemi was slowly, but surely getting weaker by the second. Her speed slackened with each step, and the weight on my arms was becoming heavier. I could hear her cough and vomit something out. She apologized every time she did, and I basically replied with, "It's all right," using different words every time. We walked. Chemi's feet began to make wet sounds with every step. We walked. Maybe we'd actually been here for only a few minutes. We walked. Chemi kept apologizing. Maybe we haven't even moved a single meter. We walked. Maybe none of this was real. Then, maybe that nothing happened here would be weird. Eventually, Chemi called to me with a hoarse voice. Haruaki-san. The fact that she said something different had sparked a moment of baseless hope. And so, thank you. Her gratitude was followed by another wet sound. I had fun. Aww. With those final words, her weight vanished. It was strange. After all, I was still holding her hand. Sorry, I realized I dragged that out of the frame. Or rather, only her hand. With a splash, her bodily fluid spread all around, while her limbs and entrails just collapsed. Chemi was gone, leaving behind only her rotted hand. Perhaps her remains were piling up in the mist ahead. I had a strange certainty I couldn't touch it ever again. Was this what they called a Yomibito? I couldn't accept this, no matter what. I don't care. I don't care what. Take part of me outside. I put the hand in my jacket pocket. I took Mako, still sleeping, and shifted my grip to make carrying her easier. I continued walking for too long. Mako woke up. She was shocked that Chemi was gone and cried for a bit. But then she wanted to walk by herself, so I put her down on the ground. The very next moment, she was dragged into the mist. It was clearly a malicious force that did that. To me, it looked like a furry arm. A scream resounded. It was an inhuman, animalistic scream. After hesitating for a moment, I turned to run and caught a glimpse of something beastly within the mist that Mako had disappeared into. I ran. And ran. Suddenly, I felt myself step onto something wet. I had arrived at the river. It was meaningless. I had lost everything. And in the end, only I survived. I don't care what. Take a part of me outside. Was there any meaning in fulfilling that promise? No. The meaning was for me to find. That was why I had survived to find a forest. Yeah, I still had that hope back then. Whoa. They finally broke through the mist and showed themselves. Oh, of course. This really was hell, wasn't it? This wasn't the human realm or nirvana. It was a river of hell. So of course both sides of it were going to be hell. There was no splash when we threw Takumi-san's body in, was there? The moment we went into the mist and down the cliff, our bodies vanished from the world and reached a place from which there was no return. And I finally had no choice but to accept it. As someone who had taken in the flesh and blood of a Yomibito, Chemi, I couldn't escape either. That was why I screamed stupidly, only managing to run a few steps before their sinister claws tore me apart. Damn it. Where had I gone wrong? Descending into the Saranaga? Not believing Chemi when she told me we couldn't escape? No. It went back even earlier than that. I already knew the answer. Ugh, shit. I really wished I'd been a part of Yasumizu and participated in the Feast of the Yomi Purge. Maybe I could have gotten a different ending than this. That was the last thought that went into my mind before it all faded away. I don't even get a key? So this is okay. Okay, bad end, clearly. Maybe I get a key after the credits. I am gonna let the credits roll. First of all, the music's pretty good. And, you know, I want to give credit to people for doing this. So, I know there's more to this game. Bro, what all just happened? I don't know. We tried to escape. Nobody truly escapes, it seems. The wolves chased us down. So this is the bad end. And probably the first main ending. We didn't get a key, though. I expected this to happen. And then I expected us to get a key. I wonder if there's any little Easter eggs in the credits. Prepare yourself for the next feast. I'm still not positive on the tone of this game, whether or not there's a really good ending where you can save everyone. There probably is. Raging Loop. Whirls and Claws. There's the key. You obtained key number 4. Sink into Nirvana. Yeah, this game is not, like, scary, but the themes and stuff are pretty scary. You can view it in the keys list. The route unlocked with this key is represented by the same number in the scenario chart. Key number 4. Ending number 1. Watch Hint Corner. Okay, do we watch Hint Corner? I don't think we need to, right? The last time we got Hint Corner, they basically just said how keys work. But we do get to see the sheep. Hi, Koi. Tell you what, I'm going to watch this Hint Corner. And if I like the tone of it, I'll continue watching these. If I don't, if I think it's too, like, spoily or handholdy, then I will not watch it. Watch future ones. Hey, Chief. Congratulations are in order. You've now cleared Yomi, the first main route. Embrace that sense of accomplishment and lovey-dovey atmosphere. No? You're not in the mood for any of that? Well, that makes sense. That wasn't a very happy ending. But keep your chin up. I'll help you find a better ending. This one wasn't a bad ending, but just ending 1. Fun in the marshes with Chiene. Oh, I hate you. Since it wasn't a bad ending, I've got no advice for you. If you want to find a better ending, then you need to find a way to proactively participate in the feast, like Haruaki said. And with Key 4, you can go ahead down that path. You can tell from the scenario chart, but the lock opens is a way back. Just so you know, it's in 1, starting point. That was the first lock choice you had, and now you can finally open it and head to the new route, Infiltration. Take on an even more chaotic scenario and give it your all so you don't taste the same despair this time. With that said, that's it. Die another hearty death next time. Okay. Let's go to the scenario chart. Okay. So, Yomi. We got key 4. There wasn't too much to unlock in Yomi. Yeah, they couldn't have shoved it in your face more. True. So, yep, we tried this out. Yasu said it. You said it in your inner monologue, and now that even the sheep says it. True. So, there wasn't much else we could do here. There was a place we could have tried to escape, and we chose not to. Leave Yasumizu. So we could go back and try this route, too, to see what happens. And then in Dense Mist, we need key 20 for this. I'm guessing it's a bad end. We need like a shit ton of keys here. This is the first night that the wolf attacks. You need a lot of keys to get through here. We did this one. That was because you died if you didn't. Oh, wow. It's like way at the beginning. Oh. Oh, my God. I remember this now. Literally the first choice you needed a key for was like right at the beginning of the game. And I guess this is going to be you looping and recalling everything. I want to do that. Suddenly, wait, hold on. Sorry. I'm just going to do this. All right. Oh, it's literally the start. Welp, I'm lost. Maybe taking a ride down an unknown road with no sat-nav was not such a good idea. I just followed the road, so I figured I wouldn't get lost, but I was in some deep shit. No? Cool it. This isn't a big deal. I sighed and took a note of the fact that I'd gotten lost in my pocket journal, then pulled out a map. And then he remembers everything. Suddenly, a rush of memories flitted into my mind. So this is new. Let's remember. Oh, wow. That's not... This game's cool. Okay, so when we first played through this, it didn't show those memories. I'm pretty sure it didn't show those memories. And then you could forget it. It just said forget it. So the like implication was he was just remembering his girlfriend. Wait. Is Chiemi the one that he took the motorcycle ride to forget about? Wait. He said he lost his girlfriend, so he was on. Wait, I'm freaking out. If that's true, that's so cool. All right, I'm gonna remember the incident. He also said it wasn't a great breakup, and then he was hung up about it. I'd already experienced this looping phenomenon or whatever. Hold on. Looping? What the hell? There was no way something like that could. But if it wasn't, then what else could explain this? How else could I, someone who's died once, be alive right now? I had clear memories of getting caught in some strange incident in Yasumizu and, shit. I couldn't remember how it ended. It was like this last time, too. My memories were all fragmented. But I did remember that I went to Yasumizu, met the people there, and died. Had I come back here when or because I died? That was a ridiculous idea, but the pain and fear I felt back then was just so vivid and fresh in my mind that I couldn't simply dismiss it as a dream or illusion. There was no point in lying to myself. I was here having experienced something that made me sure I died. It was an incomplete memory from the future. I had no idea why I had it, but I definitely did. I had come to terms with it first and foremost. The gas tank wasn't empty, but my phone couldn't find a signal and was running out of battery, and my throat was a bit dry. Exactly like last time. That meant that I was about to arrive at the Konbini. I really didn't want to meet an employee again, but from what I've experienced, she was the only one I met before going to Fujiyoshi, so avoiding her probably wasn't a great idea. Her attitude was shit, but at least she always did what I asked. Though I really don't want to drive down that unpaved road again. Hey. Once again, she greeted her customers in a borderline insane way. It actually made me kind of relieved, and I wanted to believe that it was just some kind of trick of the mind. It was just like before. To her, I was just an annoying late-night customer. Wait. Her hair is like the weird thing? Is it? Oh, do you think she's that Yomibito? I kind of see it. Oh well, I just buy what I'd wanted. I'll take these. Huh? Why are you getting so much crap? No reason. Yasumizu was just desperately poor and it had me worried. What was her problem? I was the customer. With this much stuff, she'd had to use the register. Still grumbling, she started scanning the barcodes. Once she was done, I paid and asked, I want to get to the nearest settlement. Do you have a map I could look at? Yeah, these random characters are always actually important. I feel that. Please, I need it. Just wait. She went through the staff door. Found it. I hope they're at least a little more generous about like... I hope they're a little more generous about like not making me repeat a whole bunch of stuff since I went all the way back to the beginning. Here's the store. Go north of the crossroads. You'll find an overpass soon enough. Cross it. When we come to a fork next to a giant boulder, turn right and head straight. But that's just a forest, isn't it? I knew that it was. There wasn't even a paved road there. Yeah, enough is going to be different with this key for sure. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Why'd she recommend that road anyways? If I'd crashed and died, it'd be homicide by negligence. There's a settlement, it's just not on the map. That wasn't a lie. It wasn't weird for Yasumizu to not be on the map. It was a nearly abandoned settlement in the middle of nowhere. Why did she know about it? Did she live in Kamifujiyoshi or something? That sounds like it'd be bad for my bike. What about this place? Fujiyoshi? It's a 2-hour drive through a shitty mountain path. Can I write that down? Sure. Where's the other closest town? Past 2 mountains. Man, I couldn't make any sense of the local distance measurements. I don't recommend going wild around these parts at night. Oh, actual consideration, though. It was hard to be grateful. She was the one who pointed me in the direction of the shitty road in the first place. Turning back takes courage, too. Turning back, huh? I'll think about that. Thank you. Thanks for coming, or whatever. Oh, by the way, got any interesting local drinks? I didn't see any in the drink aisle. Well, then, we don't have any. I just thought you might have something in the back. I hate that comment. It's like never true. Like hell we would. Could you at least check? Just wait. Found it. Seriously? She brought me a 500cc bottle with a black liquid inside. The label looked written by hand and it said Wild Plant Cola. I expected nothing and got something huge. This place was amazing. Oh, sorry, but I got quite a lot of stuff. Do you have a rubber rope I could hang on my bike to hold it all? This ain't the hardware store. I'd be happy if you just looked. Alright, just wait. Found it. Seriously? Well, since we've come this far, I have a list here. Think you could see if we have anything on it? What the hell? You got a death wish or something? Are you saying you'd kill me? Please. I just want you to have a look. Alright, wait here. Thank you. We had it all? What the hell is this place? Oh, is this like a magical convenience store? I think this might be a magical kombini where like you can just get whatever you need. And so like he's gonna prep for the journey here. Wait, what's happening? I felt like she was about to kill me, but I successfully came out with pretty much all I needed. Then I just made a run for it. I opened up the weird Wild Plant Cola. Looking up at the noisy light trap above, I took a sip. It was cool, intense, and had a strange grassy flavor, but it wasn't too bad at all. I expected something totally gross, but it was actually a legit drink. Slightly disappointed, I looked at the ingredients. Cola and plant extract. Hold on. Cola is an ingredient? Did they just buy cola and mix it in? And plant extracts could be anything from fruit to poison. The hell, was this even safe to drink? Well, at least it tasted good. It's probably smart to just turn around and drive away. Entering Fujiyoshi means death. Turn back. Perhaps that was what the loops were trying to tell me. Maybe I ought to listen. But was it really that easy? I had no real grounds for this, but the cause of the strange phenomenon was somewhere in the village. Perhaps I couldn't break out of the loop until I solved the mystery behind it. What would happen if I left then? I would go on and live out the rest of my days, only to die and come back here. Would I return to youth after years of being old? That part didn't sound half bad, actually, but it was really something I could just accept so easily. This was just speculation. Oh, I'm sorry, you scared the shit. Oh my god, you scared the shit out of me. My mom creeped around the door and like she was just looking at me from behind the door. It scared the crap out of me. I'm sorry if I screamed at everybody. Heart rate 120. She was like staring and smiling. Oh my god. Because sorry if I screamed. Was everything from then, now, and until death just an antemortem fever dream? And dying again would just bring me back there? If that was how it was, everything I'd do with my life from this point onward would be meaningless.
And that's the marker. Oh, you used it. Oh, awesome. I've been using it to timestamp my fighting game VODs. Oh, oh my god. Also, how could I leave something so strange, unnatural, and incomprehensible and then just return to the city? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Choices, choices, choices. Well, one or two of these are going to be bad ends. That's what's happened to you too? That's yeah, two of these are probably bad ends. I'm going to try turn back, and then we're going to go to Fujiyoshi by the normal route, I think. Until I'd finished my drink, the thing guiding me was my good sense, otherwise known as opportunism. Man, what a weird experience that was. I'd made good campfire story once, and made it back where I belonged. I pushed aside my sense that something wasn't right, my anxiety and my fear, and straddled the seat of my bike. Well, there was another way to look at this. I could try and see whether ignoring it all and running away would actually work. After all, this might end up being the only way to solve the problem. I turned the key, opened the throttle, pushed the signal to the left, and connected the clutch. Away I went, starting with a left turn. Anyway, I'd go back up the mountain path. I'd had enough of this ride. I'd return to civilization, eat some normal food, get some decent sleep, and live my boring, everyday life. Just recognizing how precious those things were was more than enough to me, and that made the trip all worth it. A dense mist drifted into view. Oh, the soda? Maybe. Oh, well, we crashed. Game over. Bad ending number 6. No, I think I get why that was a bad ending. Okay. Let's just... I mean, if we pass by, we're probably just also going to die, right? Let's just get it out of the way. Maybe I could just pass it by. I was curious. What if I ignored Yasumizu Fujiyoshi and the clerk's warning and simply drove on past? Wait, would anything happen? I would just continue down the road, right? Why did I feel so uneasy then? After thinking for a moment, I'd arrived to the mindset of eliminating whether options seemed wrong. My guess was that this wouldn't take care of the root of the problem, but I was the type who wouldn't believe it until I tried myself. He's like talking directly to me. I turned the key, opened the throttle, connected the clutch. Away I went, starting with a right turn. The tense mountain path continued for a while. Though I didn't feel like falling asleep, I was definitely becoming more and more exhausted, both mentally and physically. Even in this jacket, the force of the wind going by did a number on my body, especially I kept onward for over an hour. I did, however, see a sign above my head that said Fujiyoshi. As I decided, I'd just pass it by, never coming close to Kami Fujiyoshi or Yasumizu. Now, I just passed the 2 mountains and reached the town I was told about. Perhaps I should have been more suspicious of the fact that I'd stopped acting on my heart after that. Maybe I was just so tired I couldn't even make such decisions. I can only remember noticing a strangely dense mist surrounding me, but that was when my brain lost all capacity for perception and judgment. Bing bong. You're here forever. Spatting number 7. Okay, well, I got a different ending. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to probably the first feast or the first something here and then stop this vid. Okay, so we're going to go the normal route. He ran into the werewolf. He ran into like you run into a deer on the road. As I finished my drink, I made my decision. I'd return there. I'd face the tragedy again. Of course, I was curious about the looping phenomenon, but I did recall what I'd thought during my final moments. It was something like, if only I'd handled this better. And for better or worse, this weird looping phenomenon had given me a chance to do just that. If I went about it a bit better, perhaps I could get a better ending. Hisako Mamiya, Yudai Hashimoto, Kanzo Makishima, Yoshitsugu Oribe, Takumi Muro, Old Man Who Cried Wolf, Chikamochi Kamoshida, Rikaku Uematsu, Kaori Uribe, Kyonosuke no Sato, Meiko. Hell, even Yasunaga Uribe, Tai Yamawaki, and Haru Makishima were just victims of such strange superstition. But I, Haruaki Fusaishi, could not delude myself. I was no hero. I had no powers, no convictions. I was just a dilettante. This guy's got a vocabulary. My only motivation here was my sense of perfectionism. I was annoyed at how many mistakes I'd made the first time around. Plus, there was a certain attraction I felt toward the unknown. It was an urge foundational to my being. And I'd be risking my life on its behalf. I wasn't about to pretend I was acting for the sake of others here. Chieme Serizawa. Though she hated her childhood home, it remained part of who she was, and I wanted to keep that from being tarnished with blood. Yeah, right? Imagine. That motive was perverse, forceful, selfish, lustful, and filthy, and I couldn't let myself forget any of that. I remembered the names of those I'd meet, and what I had to do. I turned the key, opened the throttle, pushed the signal to the left, and connected the clutch. Away I went, starting with a right turn. You'll find an overpass soon. Cross it. When you come to a fork next to a giant boulder, turn right and head straight. I came quickly across it. I could clearly remember this overpass. A large boulder wasn't new to me either, but I wouldn't take that route this time. I just kept on driving, not lowering my speed for a moment. Full speed ahead. I drove onto the winding mountain path. Strangely enough, my fatigue, though present, wasn't too bad, and my head was perfectly clear. So here's a question, too. Does everyone else remember what happened during that loop? I knew which route to take without even looking at my copy of the map. Or maybe I'd driven through here before? Perhaps this wasn't the first choice I'd made, but one of many? I couldn't be sure, and since my memories were so incomplete, nothing was certain. Still, they'd be an asset in the fight ahead. I wasn't going into this unarmed. I could no longer see the moon, and if those memories held true, the rain would begin soon. Okay, so this is where they tell you to stop streaming. I'm not going to, but this is where they tell you to stop streaming. So, to everyone out there, this is where the game gets extra spoilery, I guess. So, if you want to go experience it yourself and you're on YouTube or live here on Twitch now, this would be the best point to stop watching. So I'm not going to. This game is 5 years old, but I am going to give sufficient warning. This is where you're supposed to stop streaming. But this game is 5 years old. If you don't want spoilers, stop now. And that's your only option. Okay. You know what I mean, right? You set the upload streaming limit alert to on, didn't you? This is it. Meaning you can only upload videos reaching up to this chapter. Well, you can actually go up to the choice that pops up after this, so prepare your goodbyes and stuff. If all my videos get taken down also, you know, whatever. I drove in the darkness, but I could still make out a sign above me. The road wasn't wide, but I decelerated. Wow. I'm losing my tempo here. Decelerated and somehow managed a U-turn. There were no other cars, so no one would complain. I returned and looked at the sign. It said that driving ahead would have led me to Kachihara, which by turning right, I would head to Fujiyoshi. Finally. It's already past midnight, but actually earlier than I'd thought. A 30-minute drive from this point would lead me to Fujiyoshi, or rather, Kamifujiyoshi. The place wasn't too popular among Yasumizu's people. So you can do more stuff here if we have more keys. 5, 6, and 7. Enter village. Oh, a house. My time estimate was more or less right. After 30 or so minutes, I began seeing houses between the hills and the trees. I eventually left the forest and could see as well as anyone could in the middle of the night. It was already raining, and I knew it'd only get worse. I had to do something before that happened. There were next to no city lights, and not a single house I could see was up either. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to timestamp the warning as well. Oh, I wonder if maybe this path isn't right, and you do just keep going to Yasumizu. Wait, now he doesn't have to worry about coming from the river. Ooh, true. However, unlike Yasumizu, destitute place where most of the houses had been from the wood where these houses were modern. The road was well paved, too. I could even see some bus stops and vending machines, emphasizing that this was modern Japan. Even if they have an inn or something, I doubt they'd accept someone barging in so late. Some would think there was a way for me to at least get a roof over my head, but I know that was just a city dweller misconception. Same went for the idea that the rural folk were nice enough to let you stay if you all just asked nicely. That was just pure delusion. In actuality, rural areas were subject to local legends and traditions, with many of the residents believing leading good, peaceful lives were only possible thanks to their protection. Of course, that wasn't always wrong, but that was also the reason why many rural people were so cold to outsiders. Hell, this was a village so behind the times, it still had a settlement for the ostracized, which they discriminated against so badly. This place was probably even more insular than your average rural village. They wouldn't take kindly to an outsider like me, and would probably be wary the entire time I stayed here. I could only imagine how strongly they'd react if some brown-haired man suddenly drove in on a bike and... Hey, what are you doing? Stop right there. Get off and come with me. Was I some sort of idiot? Like the city boy I was, I just went in there thinking it'd all work out. And now I'd caught the attention of a police officer. Well, I doubted he'd arrest me or anything, but the fact that there was some weirdo that invaded the village in the middle of the night would spread among the people here in less than a day. Now I'd be treated like a criminal if I wanted to talk to anyone here. The officer looked middle-aged, but what stood out about him was the fact that he seemed like the most generic meathead old man from the countryside. He told me to sit down here and wait until he came back. I could only imagine the chewing out I was in for. Still, I was pretty sure that passing Kami Fujiyoshi was one of the main conditions here. I could clearly remember. I had memories of this. Hisako Mamiya and Yudai Hashimoto came here through the normal route, and they weren't considered a problem. They died on the first day of the feast, but it wasn't because they were outsiders. They just violated the feast rules. They either hadn't cleansed themselves, sheltered all alone, or dreamed. My assumption was that, before it had all happened, they'd stayed at the inn in Kami Fujiyoshi. They'd only come to Yasumizo on the day for the sake of an article. Unfortunately for them, the mist came and the landslide happened, making it impossible for them to get back to Kami Fujiyoshi by car. Then everyone started sheltering, and no one came to help them. Forget the outsider. Old man Kanzo and I will check the other places. Stop wasting time and go back to yours. Yeah, even Takumi-san had tried to cut me off because I was an outsider. Giving me a way to survive, however, improvised, was probably a huge risk for Chiemi. I had to keep that in mind. Back to the journalists, though. They'd ended up abandoned in the village plaza, clueless about what was happening. What had they done then? They'd obviously chosen to spend a night in the van. I had no idea how Hashimoto-shi and Mamiya-san fit in there together, but since they hadn't slept alone, they'd broken a shelter rule. Hell, I wasn't sure if the van was a valid source of shelter to begin with, even if it was locked. That was probably why Hashimoto-shi's body was found with the van. And since Hashimoto Mamiya had probably roamed around at night, she'd broken the dream rule. I had no idea why she'd gone outside, but it could have been something simple, such as nature calling or a search for a better place to sleep. Of course, as a journalist, she might have smelled a scoop in this ominous village and gone to gather info. Not to mention, they couldn't have taken a bath in their situation, so obviously they hadn't cleansed themselves. And so she died at the hands of that thing. Now, about what had happened to me. I died once after leaving the outdoor toilet. Dying because I'd gone outside was understandable, but honestly, I wasn't sure if the toilet even counted as inside. I bet it didn't. And of course, I hadn't bathed or slept, so I broke all the rules. And yet, I'd survived. What made my situation different then? It was whether I'd been found by that thing or not. Upon seeing me, it had recognized me as a rule breaker and executed me. But when it hadn't found me, I'd survived, despite breaking all the rules. That meant that the sheltering law was simply a method meant to keep the werewolf thing from finding you. The time I'd survived, I tried to force its way in, but failed. Nothing had happened to me because I was locked in, but if the lock was broken or something, I'd have been found and killed easily. Participating in the feast, but they didn't participate in the feast, the journalists. I don't know, because, like, he still died in the river. You could avoid a monster just by properly locking yourself in somewhere. The food would make the most sense. Mako was proof of that. She was a lost child who'd come from the hated Saranaga, but she'd survived all the way up to the end without succumbing to the corruption. That meant the important thing there was to get a lockable residence with a bath. And that was exactly why arriving via the normal route was necessary. If I'd come from Saranaga again, most of the inhabitants would treat me with distrust and disgust, driving me away. Yeah, they did go there to review the food. But if I was a person who'd arrived through Kamifujiyoshi for whatever reason, they'd be willing to accommodate. Mako was probably only given a place because she was young and because Rikaku had protected her. I couldn't expect similar treatment. Rikaku Uematsu preemptively gave a house to Mako, to a small child like her? That made it seem like she knew the Mists and Feasts would come. I'll think more on that later, though. It could be that she'd given a key right after the Mists came. Anyway, if I could be like Mako and get a proper place to stay in, I'd have the right to participate in the Feast of the Yomi Purge. I'd be able to listen to the talks myself, instead of relying on Shime, and be able to contribute my own thoughts. I'd also learn much more about the feast. That meant a lot, considering that some people there, especially the elders, wouldn't want to talk about Yasumizu's problems to those outside the feast. Part of me wanted to avoid another tragedy, but the part that wanted to find out what was behind this mystery was equally strong. That monster, and the thing that allowed me to still be here, this looping phenomenon, were the main mysteries here. Though, I did have some questions about the monster. It hadn't found me when I'd locked myself in the toilet. It was probably just curious as to why it was locked. Couldn't a monster with a wolf head just track me by scent? Why did it half-ass its job? Its failure to eliminate me made the inhabitants more suspicious of me. There was no feast laws regarding outsiders, and that was why it was best for us to just not be present. Looking at the current laws, those who don't have a place to stay were outsiders, and they had to be removed because of that. The system worked fine for the most part, but then there was me, a proper breach. If that monster had melted out of... If that monster meted out the corruption, it was on the side of the Great Lord Shinai. As such, it should have used some divine powers, or whatever, to address the problem. Also, it seemed to me like they had the power to unlock doors. Man, this was getting confusing. Last time, the wolves were Oribe and Tai Yamawaki. According to the legend, they had been replaced by wolves who had come back from the dead. But their story was completely different. They said they were normal people who had wolves as their guardians. That meant that thing couldn't have been Yasunaga or Tai. It was more like an agent of the same side of whatever granted them their powers. I had no idea why they were granted the protection of the Guardians, but from what I could tell, Guardians were like fragments of divine power. And if you were on the same side as the one who granted those powers, couldn't you just use the unlocking power whenever you wanted? Why would a supernatural being make such a careless mistake? Any assumptions made beyond this point would just be grasping at straws, though, and they would bias my observations. I'll stop here for now. Anyway, it was imperative I got myself a place to stay. What was I doing here anyways? I'd been theorizing about this for about half an hour now. Dawn was close. I only had a little over 10 hours until the mist came, and I had to find a secure place to stay within that time. That was hard to begin with, but as things stood, it was an outright impossibility. Do I have to run away? What if I just ran away to Yasumizu, said I came from Kamifujiyoshi like it was no big deal, and asked them to let me live there? Well, they had enough imagination to suspect me. I definitely need someone from Kamifujiyoshi to vouch for me, and for that, I'd have to find something that could turn this around. I looked around the police box. A tidy desk, a rotary phone. This felt like a place of an officer from the mid-20th century. There were wanted posters on the walls. Oh, they'd caught that guy. One of the men even had the look of a criminal. And that one, a serial killer, huh? And it was possible he was lurking in the area, huh? That was pretty freaky. Finally, I heard some noise. The door opened, and the officer returned. Didn't run away, huh? You've got guts. I should have run? What was that? And he wasn't one to mess around. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. What's your name? Haruaki Fusaishi. Haru from Sun, and Aki from Meiji for Haruaki, and Fusa from Workshop, and Ishii from Stone for Fusaishi. Fusaishi. What a weird name. Best not be fake, kid.
You from Tokyo?
ええまあ
Yes, I
そう
am.
です けど
It was like anyone weird was from Tokyo to them. Some serious stereotyping there. He was right, though.
年は
How old are you?
24です
I'm 24.
あ
Huh?
仕事は
What's your job?
学生ですよ
I am a student.
大学
College, huh?
頭が
So you got a good
弱くて
head,
常識はないな
but you ain't got no common sense. I just drove on the road at night. That was so unfair. I wanted to talk back so badly.
でなんで来た
So, why are you here? He lowered his voice a bit. That was the main matter here, and how he treated me would change depending on my answer. What angle could I take? Oh boy, I'm lost.
バイク旅行中
I went on a bike trip and lost my
道に迷い
way.
まして
I just told him the truth. There was nothing shady about that, and telling him some cheap lies would only make him suspicious.
本当か
Really? Put on a threatening tone. I really wish he didn't stare at me like that. What, did he expect me to fall for him?
本当ですよ
Really?
もう
I've been wandering around the mountains for hours before finding a convenience store. An employee told me about this place.
コンビニ
Konbini?
進めたか
They told you to come here? She hadn't told me to go to Kamifujiyoshi, but she had told me about Yasumizu. I just tell the truth until the end.
なんか
She told me about a settlement in the mountains that's not even on the map. I kindly refused, and then she told me about here.
そりゃ奇妙な
That's strange.
あったんですかね
Is there a settlement like that?
さ
Beats me. It was clearly an act. He looked away. Man, this guy was honest.
まあ分かった
Well, I get it.
本当に
There ain't nothing special about you, huh?
え
Yes,
そう
I
か
see. Well, you should stop going around at night and disturbing the peace like that.
疑われるような
I'd have
ことは
appreciated an
もうせんよう
apology
にな
for treating me with so much suspicion, but I had more important things to talk about.
えなのですみませんが
Anyway,
人が
would you mind if I spend the night here and...
よし
Alright,
道を
I'll show you the way to the road. Huh?
いえ
But I'm so tired.
そう言って
If you
る
can
間は
complain,
大丈夫だ
you'll be just fine.
実はガソリンが
I'm almost out of fuel.
俺の原付
I'll
を
give you some
分けて
from my scooter. I don't feel so good.
そうか
And you should hurry up and get.
いいな
何かあるんで
Is
すか
something going on here?
何もない
Nope. He wasn't even looking into my eyes as he said that. He'd gotten on his scooter and saw me off until the crossroads. Man, what a great guy. I didn't expect him to go this far. Yeah, right. Why the hell did he want me out so badly? Well, at least the rain stopped. This was the only good thing about this. Was this some special time of the year when the presence of outsiders was bad? Was it worth chasing me out, even if it seemed unnatural? Yeah, maybe he's trying to save us from the feast, or maybe... I mean, I guess he knows it's coming, right? That seemed like a decent guess. Even if the mist had shown up for decades now, if the legends were deeply rooted in local culture, there would still be related traditions alive. Or maybe he was sure something bad was going to happen. Or was he on the side that'd make it happen? Did they have any means to create such a dense mist? Mist happened when the air cooled and water vapor in the air couldn't stay gaseous. It was basically small water droplets. The mechanism by which they worked could easily be replicated in a lab. They even did it on educational TV. Though I found it hard to believe that they could reproduce a scale vast enough to hide an entire settlement. They need some device that no doubt would be large and heavy. And it'd have to be in the Saranaga Rapids of all places, though I'd only been to Saranaga when I couldn't see anything, either because it was at night or it was misty. If the mist was made by some huge machine put there by Kamifujiyoshi people, I'd be really pissed, to say the least. Though, Takumi-san did say he had to pick up the corpses from Saranaga. Even if it was forbidden ground, it wasn't likely they could just install a device like that without anyone noticing. That was how it was in some novel, wasn't it? The corpse was there to begin with, but they just couldn't perceive it. I'd have liked to believe that something was a tad more realistic. In the end, I had to keep going toward the area called Kachihara. Maybe I'd get to rest there. If I returned the next day, the cop would surely snap at me. Would I even go back? The fatigue was getting the better of me. I knew it was a good idea to stop, but no, actually I didn't know it. I wasn't able to think straight. Mist? Now? Was it artificial? No, that didn't make sense. My mind was hazy, and I could no longer make sense of anything. Time to die! Doot, doot, doot. Crash. Obtain key number 5. Nice officer. You can view it in the keys list. The route unlocked by this key is represented, blah, blah, blah. So we need 5 and 6. So I bet this gets us 6.
で、なん
I followed my girlfriend because I'm weird.
実は
Well,
なんだ
say it.
心に
I heard that a girl I dedicated to my heart lives somewhere around here, so I came looking for her. There. He acted like he didn't care, but he was definitely interested. Here in human society, love stories were a supreme form of entertainment and a good excuse for doing all sorts of weird stuff. Anything was possible with a girl when a girl or a guy was involved.
そりゃ
Well, you say that, but no one here actually went to Tokyo.
いえ
Uh,
あったのは
we met elsewhere. Yeah, this is dead again, but it'll get us there, right? When I went to Karuizawa to recover from the after effects of the bird flu. And so I wove for him a dramatically majestic story of how I'd grown close to the woman I dedicated my life to. Cop was really into it. He looked like he didn't care at first, but by the time I got to the part where she first invited me to her house, he displayed a childlike enthusiasm. Eventually we became true lovers, and she said she couldn't throw away her childhood home, which led to a tearful goodbye. At that point, the cop was fully invested in the girl returning back home.
それで君は
So you threw away the city and came after her, huh? Oh.
は
Oh.
あは
He smiled like he was about to pat me. I definitely captured his heart. But
あしかし
was there a girl like that here? What's your fiance's name?
ああなんつう子だ
Sounds like a simp. Dude, everyone in this game is a simp. There was. Everyone in rural areas knew each other, so trying to make up a person wouldn't get anywhere. But that wasn't a problem for me. I had the perfect name in mind.
芹沢千恵美って子です
Chiemi Serizawa.
帰れ
Oh, shit. He just said, get out.
帰れ
Get out.
今すぐ
Right
出てけ
now.
すぐ
He stood up and approached me so menacingly, I felt like it was about to attack me. Holy shit. In the end, he jumped on his scooter and led me to some crossroads, clearly getting me out of here. I'm heading towards the Kachigara. The rain already stopped, but it's still slick asphalt. Here comes the crash. I knew Chiemi and Fujiyoshi were distant, to say the least. At least she'd been out of the village. They couldn't have known what she's been up to. I thought that'd make my story more believable, but what the hell was that reaction? The thing that had set him off was Chiemi's name. She told me she almost killed someone with a bat. Was her reputation that bad? Even if it was, is that the right reaction to make? You'd expecting, like, him to go, I really think you shouldn't, and the like. Was it because she was from Yasumizu? That makes sense, but if they didn't want outsiders to know about Yasumizu, it'd make sense for them to chase away anyone coming to meet her. That only made them look more suspicious. Anyway, what now? Maybe I'd try coming back again after getting some rest at the nearest town, but from what I could tell, entering Yasumizu from Kami Fujiyoshi wouldn't be as easy as I'd first thought. The fatigue was getting the better of me. I knew it was a good idea to stop, but yeah, here we go. Missed? Now? No way. Monka steer, Pepe laugh, crash. Taboo name. You can view it on the keys list. It's kind of naive to make you do that. Bad ending number 9.
で
All right. Snap? All right, I'll snap.
何でもいいじゃない
Oh shit, let's go! What's to you, huh? This is Japan. We're free to go wherever. I can be wherever I want. Whenever I want, damn it. What the hell's up with you? I'm tired of dying, damn it. I know I come back, but dying really hurts. I know this route's a dead end too. What next then? You want me to dance naked? Some taste you got there, God. Oh, he's pissed. I dare you to do it, you shit. Just shut up and let me stay here. Then let me go into Yasumizu and make it look normal. Ugh. He went crazy. What the hell? Hello? Hello? All right, I'll shoot him. Oh my god, this guy's getting messed up every which way. You obtained key number 7, Berserk. You can view it in the keys list. Wait, what did I just get here? I got 5 and 6? Wait, so this doesn't work. Oh, you need 5, 6, and 7 to go down this way.
Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay. Enter village. Drink booze from the convenience store? This guy's pissed. This guy's looped so many fucking times. He's just lost it. I stopped my bike. Then I flipped out the kickstand and locked it in place. After opening up the toolbox... Yeah, he's so tilted, dude. After opening up the toolbox under the seat, I hid my license, ID, and business card. Anything related to me, basically, inside of it. Kami Fujiyoshi was just ahead. If I came in like that, the officer would surely catch me and chase me away. I had to find another way to convince that old man to let me stay. I reached in the bag of stuff I bought at the convenience store and took something out. It was a cup of refined sake. I quickly gulped it down. Ah, it sucks. Cheap or not, chugging sake like this was plain disrespectful. No trying this at home, kids. Not the kids could drink anyways. Unfortunately, my life and fate, whatever, were on the line here. Next cup. Ugh. Third cup. 4. Drink. The hell are you? Are you drunk? I never seen you here before. Shoot.
そうっすな。
Yeah. What? You reek. Where are you from? Why are you out so late? Here. Alright. Just come with me. Yeah, I realized this. This man always let me go as long as I was good for driving. Then it was best to not talk at all and come all drunk. Yahoo! Shut up, dumbass. You're disturbing the neighbors. Blacked out. Ugh. Where was I? Ow, my head, back. Oh, it hurts all over. Tatami and a blanket. So he really just let me spend the night here, just as I'd planned. The officer was actually a nice guy. Not like I couldn't tell. He was just rough and simple. Basically, the way to get around him was to get him to think that there was nothing more to me than meets the eye. Oh, are you awake? Let's talk for a bit. Alright, it's time. Let me get this straight. You got no money, can't find a job, got chased out from your apartment, left by your girl, and your parents are already dead. Came to the mountains to drink yourself stupid and die, but couldn't finish the job, huh?
はい。
That's right. Tokyo sure as hell, isn't it?
はい。
Yeah. After I spent an hour lying about myself, the officer looked at me with a sympathetic expression. If you ask me, you should have tried to look more proper than that.
はい。
Yes, I'll think about that. Basically, I didn't talk unless prompted, nor did I argue with him. This guy was definitely good-natured, but he was also rough around the edges, chatty, and a bit preachy. In this case, I kind of just let him set the pace. I was about to ask something outrageous after that. I needed to be completely on board with his story. The front door was made of glass, and when people passed me on the farm road at the front, they gave me funny looks. It was early morning, but the people of Kami Fujiyoshi were already aware of and concerned about my presence. An outsider. Yeah, he's a good cop. Nice guy. Well, dying ain't good. Yes. I was too scared to die, even when drunk. Didn't seem that way. Sometimes you're scared, but you can't help but laugh. Is that so? Well, what do you want to do now? I paused to make it seem like I was hesitating. I want to make a fresh start, but I've got nowhere to go. I faked some tears and quivered as I spoke. My wife's from Miyazaki. They got a small workshop there. Want to give that a try? Your wife is from Kyushu? Yeah, she's a tough woman. How'd you meet her? Well, when I was still 20. And so he began his grandiose hour-long talk about youthful romance. The words karma and a curse rebound come to mind. That's funny. Apparently, he wasn't a Fujiyoshi inhabitant at the start, and he and his wife were only living here in the sticks because he was a local officer. It was then that said wife, and a plump and pleasant woman at that, came out to serve us tea. They really were just living here. Eventually, they got so lovey-dovey it was hard for me to talk. I instead considered what to do next. I mean, it's made it really hard for me to say I wanted to make a fresh start here in Fujiyoshi. Even if his wife suggested I went to work for a family back in Kyushu, such nice people, Exactly the type that'd get swindled. That sounds great, but this place is nice too, isn't it? There's lots of nature. I think I could take it easy here. Oh, but it's so inconvenient. It's all surrounded by mountains. I have a feeling like I was brought here for a purpose. Like, maybe I'd meet someone? Well, you did. You met us, didn't you? Damn, she was a tough one. This is the first time anyone's been so nice to me. Oh dear, please don't cry. I want to pay you back. Can I work somewhere in this village? I got the heart of the matter, but the guy didn't look too enthusiastic. His wife left the room, leaving behind the two of us in an awkward silence. I don't think you should. Huh? I mean, this place is full of old people, and it's not like we have any local exports or anything. The most you could expect is odd jobs, but that's really good enough for me. I don't even need any money. That's great and all, but there's a town not far from here. I want to work here. Well, how do I put this? The people here are a bit strange, you see. He went and said it. Listening to his story had me guess that he wasn't under Fujiyoshi's sway to the degree others were. They lived here for 20 years, but in small ways, they were still outsiders. The bitterness in his expression was more than enough to give me that impression. Strange. Forget I said that. Anyway, don't take this the wrong way, but you should find some other... Suddenly I heard a sound coming from outside. It was the town broadcast. Some speakers everywhere in the village were playing some unclear music, and it was... This is that nursery rhyme. Oh, that surprised you. It's the sign that it's 7 o'clock. Really? It was a children's song in a playground singing game. Chami had said it was called Prayer to Shinai. So it was a song revering the great Lord Shinai. But from what I remembered, it was about the feast of the Yomi Purge. That's a strange melody. I bet he's lying. I bet this is telling them that the mist is coming. I forget what it's called, but it's been around here for generations. So the village as a whole had inherited it. There wasn't anything strange about that, really. Even if its roots were in a cruel legend, the passage of time would eventually erode said legend's significance. Just introduce something like Wolf Bullying Festival, and it would be nothing more than a decent song to serve as morning alarm for the villagers. But that was only true if the legend's meaning had been forgotten. What happened next was shocking, even to someone who had their suspicions about the nature of this place. One by one, people started coming out of their homes, forming a crowd. The road before the office was full of people traveling from right to left. Where had this many people even come from? I couldn't get any good looks at their expressions, but they were all hanging their heads despondently. Were they just tired? What's going on? They're going to the watering hole. Watering hole? The eatery. Everyone eats breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. Wow. That's a bit weird. Yeah, it's got something to do with there being a ban on using fire because it could burn the mountain. So the watering hole did it in secret. That's why everyone here eats at the watering hole instead of their homes. Meal times are dictated by the Higuchi, so... Oh, what about us? The door suddenly opened up and I heard a soft voice I didn't recognize. Surprised, the officer and I turned around. It was a man in a suit, average build. His face was round, and he looked a bit shy of middle-aged. It's nothing, Higuchi-san. And it turned out he was a member of one of the 4 head families here, one of the Higuchi. That was the family Kaori Oribe had married into, but when her husband, the family's head, died, she was sent to Yasumizu. That means this man was related to Yasunaga-kun and Yoshitsugu-kun. I could see a resemblance. I was definitely intrigued, though. Fujiyoshi had a tradition of using the watering hole to feed themselves, and if the Higuchi clan was in charge of that gave them an influential position. People needed food to stay alive, and if they didn't have any way to cook, they wouldn't even consider making food for themselves. I can only imagine the power of a family could have if they were in charge of all the local food and drink. Kaori Oribe-san was in charge of the dining hall too. Her relation to the Higuchi probably had something to do with that. Perhaps she'd been sent there to fill the role. But if that was the case, the idea that Yasumizu had been completely abandoned wasn't true at all. It'd mean that Kami Fujiyoshi was actually controlling what went on there. Everyone was talking about this person. Who is he?
あ
Name's Fusaishi. Kid went through some bad stuff.
何やらいろいろ
Wandered here wanting to die.
That sounds quite awful. Higuchi-san gave me a genuinely sympathetic smile.
いえ、
No need for that.
それにしても
I think I wasn't in the right state of
して
mind.
いました。
Sorry to bother.
まあ
Well,
そりゃ
that's all fine and good.
I see. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Shoji Higuchi. I am in charge of the odd jobs around here. Pleased to meet you. I am Haruaki Fusaishi. You are quite stylish. A hunk, as they say.
いや、そんな。
I wouldn't say so. May I ask what you were talking about?
うちはこ
We're
れ
about
か
to
ら
eat.
飯にする
Can you leave it for later?
Ha, I forgot. You always make your own food. Oh, but have you had breakfast yet, Fusaishi-san? Care to join us? My family runs an eatery. We can treat you. It might also be a good chance to talk. Don't worry, looking after Fujiyoshi is part of my role. I'd like to know everything there is to know about what's happening here. He looked gentle and easy to get along with, but as someone I had to watch my step around. He just walked right up to the local police officer and asked him for information like it was a casual request. It was clear who was in charge here. I gave the officer a glance out of the corner of my eye, but he stopped talking. I felt like the conversation I had with him could have led me to sharing breakfast with him and his wife. But he hadn't said anything about Shoji Higuchi inviting me. It was like he was telling me to accept. Or perhaps there was just no point in trying to refuse.
大丈夫ですか？
May I? Even so, I did ask for his
だ
permission.
ったら
Can I have him after
いい
breakfast?
ですかね
But the officer didn't even want to talk to me anymore.
まだ聞きたい
There's still
こと
some
も
things
あ
I'd
り
like to
ます
ask
よね
him.
Perhaps Fujiyoshi was a place where, in his presence, you couldn't even have a conversation without him involved. Yes, yes, of course. Anyway, it was decided. The sky was clear. The eatery was split into several buildings. Okay, this is a good place for me to pause. So, we are going to continue from here. Because there's not going to be a choice, but we're going to continue from here. I'm going to save. Oh, okay, this is the autosave. Yeah. Whatever. We'll save here. Because I don't want to go too late. So let me exit the game. All right. So. What's Madge? What? Why you Madge? Because I'm stopping. It's getting late. I gotta edit there. I gotta clip this. Keep playing. I wish. I gotta clip this and I gotta put it up on YouTube. I wanted to see more. Should I do more? I could probably go for another 30 minutes or so if you really want me to. Yeah, I should really go to sleep. I don't want to push myself too hard. I want to watch this clip. Oh, he's tilted. It's funny. All right. So, quick shout outs. This will be up on YouTube tomorrow. Tonight on YouTube, 2 videos are going up. One is already up, my Undernight games, as well as my Halo with Magic games. So check those out. Those will be up throughout the night. Those are scheduled already. This will be up tomorrow. So next week's schedule, I'm going to tweet about it tomorrow as well, but tentatively next week's schedule. Tomorrow I'm running MashFest for Impurist Club, so no personal stream tomorrow, unless I do just like a late night couple uni sets after MashFest ends, but more likely than not, I'll just be going to bed after MashFest. Tuesday, I'll be doing a uni stream. Wednesday, I will be doing a Grand Blue stream. And then Thursday through Sunday morning. Thursday through Sunday morning, I'm out of town. I'm visiting family. So I won't have any streams. Thursday, I normally don't stream anyways. Impurist is covering Blaze Blue. Oh, excuse me. Friday, I normally don't stream, but there won't be a Saturday stream next week because I'll be out of town. There will be a Sunday stream, and I'm going to make that Raging Loop. So if you're here for Raging Loop, next Sunday, 9 p.m., we'll do another session. Really interesting stuff going on. It feels like, okay, so I don't know if you remember, but there is a path on the first way where you get into Yasumizu through the Scuffed Way, through the river, and there's like a 4-key way to go do that. I actually think we might be doing stuff in Kamifuji Yoshi. We might be doing stuff in Kamifuji Yoshi like for a while. And there's actually a route in Kamifuji Yoshi, and we get a bunch of keys that way. And then we go back the Scuffed Way and find a way to participate in the feast. Feels like there's a lot more to this game, though, so I'm enjoying it a lot. I hope y'all are enjoying it, too. Yeah. So next Sunday, more Raging Loop. Sorry to make people wait, but that is what fits with my schedule. And then the following week is Combo Breaker, so I don't know what my schedule is going to look like that week. But yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for chilling. It's always a pleasure. Look out for my next stream. Follow me on the socials and all that. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.